Good afternoon, everyone. We've had an unusually large number of bills for short session, a lot of tax policy, a lot of bills that were just recently reported out of standing committees and referred to finance. So we have what could be a very lengthy time here this afternoon. But hopefully we're going to be able to expedite some of that because we're going to be dealing with many bills that have been previously heard by standing committees where testimony was heard. So we will not cut people any shorter than we have to, but we actually will hopefully not open up a lot of previously debated issues in the standing committees. Clerk, open the roll. Thank you. With that, what we're going to do, a little bit of jumping around and try to clear as many things as we can as we get to them without overly encumbering the time of our comrades here that are waiting. Senator McDougall, you have a couple that we can clear from public safety.
Yes, Chairman, looks this is supplement number 1. And it's Mr. Chairman, if we could take them up at the same time, I was just given clearance by the co-chairman to put this, Senate Bill 1604, Senator DeSteffs, and Senate Bill 1276, Senator Evans. Mr. Chairman, this is dealing with cruelty to animals. These bills, Senator Evans' bill, everybody who would be covered by Senator DeSteffs' action would be covered by Senator Eben, and so talking to each of them on the way down here, they were okay if we would roll Senate Bill 1276 and make Senator Eben chief co-patron into 1604 and recommend reporting. So I would move that Senate Bill 1276 be rolled into Senate Bill 1604.
Okay, that we will need a recorded vote on that. Clerk, if you'll tell me when you're ready on that. Clerk is open the roll. Record your votes. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 13, no 0.
Ayes 13, no 0. Senator McDougall.
And Mr. Chairman, then I would move that Senate Bill 1604 with Senator Eben as chief co-patron be reported.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1604 as amended. Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 13, no 0.
Ayes 13, no 0. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Donovan, you had one bill that you wanted to clear out that you said would be quick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had somebody that wanted to speak to the bill. This is Senate Bill 1628 that talks about agreements with higher education to improve economic opportunities in the state of Virginia by building on the tech talent pipeline that we already have. This bill also works to build out on internships that we have. And Mr. Gilminer just wanted to come and talk to this as they've been working on this bill for a while.
Okay. We'd be pleased to hear briefly from Mr. Miner. Is this in your Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And brief is the operative word.
Right.
But I will be passionate about this issue. First of all, my name is Gil Miner, and I'm the chairman of the Virginia Business Higher Education Council. And on behalf of the Business Council, Business Higher Ed Council, I'm here to express our strong support and really strong support for Senator Donovan's bill on institutional partnerships and agreements. This is something that the business leaders and the colleges and university presidents have been working on for a long time. And the time is right now to come forward and make this reality. Just imagine colleges, universities sitting down with the Commonwealth of Virginia and coming up with better ways to do things together, working side by side and agreeing with some accountability to make these things successful. And this bill does that. It takes us further down the path of collaboration and teamwork together. So it's really a positive statement, and I encourage all of you to consider this in your deliberations. I also want to congratulate you all because last year, you all put in a bill that you had the foresight to include this idea of a partnership agreement in last year's Senate version of the budget. So thank you for setting things up for this year. And we'll be here to support you and look forward to it. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you for being here in support of this. Senator Donovan, do you have anyone else? Now, I think this one is perhaps the chair of our Education Subcommittee and chair of the Education Committee had some thoughts on this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Senator Donovan, you know this is a tremendous idea, and I think it's really bringing our colleges and universities together. In working with our staff, I think there was some concern about some of the performance measurements in the bill, and if you wouldn't mind, we have got a substitute. I don't think it does any harm to your bill. No. If we could maybe have April talk us through just a couple of points of the substitute, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. April?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Newman, the biggest changes are that instead of it being, it's significantly shorter, but what it does is it focuses on a performance pilot that looks for an innovative request with a corresponding state ask with clearly defined performance measures within the submission of the 6-year plan. Some other additional things is that it also includes, Senator Donovan's bill also includes an innovative internship fund and program, which is different from, I believe, the previous version of the bill.
Okay.
And Senator Newman?
I am. I think it's substantially close to what the senator had, and I don't think far out of bounds of what we're asking for, and therefore I would move that the substitute be agreed to.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor of the substitute signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the substitute is adopted in front of us. Senator Donovan, it appears from my notes that we have already in the budget a couple $100,000 per year for this purpose. That could
Yes,
be used
sir.
for this purpose. Do you have it?
There's money specifically for the internship program.
Right.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And so the other part of the bill doesn't really require any money, but the internship, we are funding we've requested that we fund it at a slightly higher level than we did in the past.
Okay. Okay, was there anyone else here to speak either for or against this measure? Get some, yes.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Mr. Minor said it all. I'm Kim McKay with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. We're very much in support of this bill.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the committee? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1628, amendment in the nature of a substitute. Clerk, open the roll. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 13, no zero.
Ayes 13, no zero. The bill is reported. Thank you, Senator Donovan.
I can, yes. Yes, I can go.
Okay. All right. We have we have a couple of our subcommittees to report, and it's my hope that if we clear those out, that may take care of some of our patrons that are here waiting. So, Senator Newman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have, first off, Senate Bill 1406, Senator Dance's bill. it certainly is a bit of an aspirational desire to do something about the guidance counselors and increase the ratio down to 1 to 250. Currently, it's running about now 1 to 500. Mr. Chairman, this is going to be about $100 million if we're able to fund it over 3 years. This request is for $36 million. Mr. Chairman, given the cost and given the questions in the budget, we had put the clause on the bill, and I so move.
Okay, a motion properly supported to add the financial contingency clause. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I move that it would be reported as amended.
Okay, there's a motion properly supported, the Senate Bill 1406 as amended be reported. Clerk, open the roll. Ayes 14-0, the bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is Senate Bill 1590, Senator Donovan's bill. Senator Donovan has the Virtual Virginia bill that would make it available to all schools, not just a certain number of schools. The bill was recommended that we report the bill by a motion of 7 to nothing. The fiscal impact statement was not yet totally complete on this bill, but the patron had submitted a budget amendment for this item. And April, did we have a clause on this? Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, I don't think it needs the clause. I think there is money in the budget, and I would move that we adopt or that we report 1590.
Okay, there's a motion that we report this, having been heard in subcommittee for discussion from the committee. If not, clerk, open the roll. Record your votes. Clerk, close. Okay. Ayes 13-0, the bill is reported. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the next one was 1628 that we just reported out with a substitute a minute ago of Senator Donovan's. The next, Mr. Chairman, is your bill, which is the state share of basic aid, and it really takes the 15-year limit off of those items. Mr. Chairman, this bill was recommended to be reported out on a 7-0 motion, and I so move.
There's a motion properly supported, the bill be reported. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, open the roll. Okay. Whoop. Ayes 13-0. The bill, Senate Bill 1771, is reported. Senator Newman.
Mr. Chairman, the next bill is Senator Howe's bill, which is Senate Bill 1112, relating to student loans and the licensing of education loan servicers. Mr. Chairman, the recommendation is that we had a line amendment on this bill, and if we could, maybe the clerk could report a line amendment, and then Senator Howe. This is a pretty big step forward, but maybe you can just say a quick word about it, Senator Howe, after she provides it.
Okay.
Senator Howe, why don't you go ahead? She's getting the line amendment.
Well, what this bill does is require that student loan servicers be licensed. At this point, they're totally unregulated at either the federal or local level, state level. The servicers are assigned to the student loan borrower, and they are not permitted to change their servicer, although the servicers can switch people from place to place. Okay. So this is an effort to bring some basic ethical standards to that industry.
Great. Okay. And is there a line amendment, Mr. Chairman, that could be reported?
Mr. Chairman, the line amendment is on line 269 of the substitute, or the substitute that was reported to us. After necessary, strike the remainder of line 269 and all of lines 270 and 271. And what this does is it removes references to oaths that was triggering a criminal impact statement. So now it does not have one.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the amendment be agreed to.
Okay, is there a second? Motion properly supported to adopt the line amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, what's the pleasure of the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I move that it be reported as amended.
Motion properly supported to report the bill, that is Senate Bill 1112. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, open the roll. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Newman?
Mr. Chairman, this is Senate Bill 1218. This is a bill that I've been working on with the governor's office in regards to having just a basic group of standards of learning tests, and the board can determine how to deal with all the other bills. This bill did not require an amendment. The bill, as it moves forward from here, there will be a amendment that we put on the bill. I don't know if someone's from the governor's office is here, but we're going to put an amendment on the floor that has one more narrowing point. You have it? Okay. If you don't mind reading the amendment, we can add it here, Mr. Chairman, if that works for
Okay,
you, sir.
that'd be fine. Lisa? The,
Mr. Chairman, the amendment is on line 20. After 2019, insert comma, and was subsequently eliminated by the board.
Okay.
okay, sounds like a technical amendment.
It is. I move the amendment.
Okay, is there a second?
Motion.
Motion properly supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's adopted.
Mr. Chairman, this bill does incorporate a number of other bills from Senator Suderline and Sturtevant, and I, as amended, would move that the bill be reported.
Okay. There's a motion. Was there a second to that motion? Second. Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1218 as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Okay, clerk close the roll. Ayes 14, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Newman?
Mr. Chairman, the next bill is Senate Bill 1118, Senator Peterson's bill. Mr. Chairman, as you know, we rolled a number of bills into this, but this is a bill that will state that our colleges and universities need to have a public hearing before they increase tuition or they increase fees. The bill has been written in such a way that doesn't require them to have 3 meetings right in a row. We were concerned about that, Mr. Chairman, and the bill is recommended to be reported, and I so move.
Okay. Motion properly supported that Senate Bill 1118 be reported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Clerk close the roll.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill is reported.
Mr. Chairman, the next bill is another of Senator Stanley's bills. It is Senate Bill 1660. This is one that was seeking to find a way to have the colleges and universities have a fixed for 4-year tuition rate. This brought up some concerns by some of the members in the
Senator
committee.
Newman, what bill was that?
It is Senate Bill 1660. It's okay. So it's already gone. Okay.
Good.
It didn't get any better, Senator Stanley. So
You want to stand up on that one, Senator Stanley?
but I have a better news. We have the other Stanley bill, which is 1702. This is the setting up of the Public Assistance Fund and Program. We did that one as well. Okay.
All right.
I can't help you. So. No, you're doing great. How about micro-credentialing? Micro-credentialing. Okay. Very good. Mr. Chairman, up next is Senate Bill 1576, Senator Suderline's bill. Mr. Chairman, this was a bill that would have set up a pilot program for the feasibility of education placement transfers of certain students with disabilities. We all know that this has cost us an enormous amount of money over the last few years. This bill incorporated into it Senate Bill 1264 from Senator Vogel, and I move that the bill be rolled together, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there is a motion properly supported that the bills be rolled together. The clerk ready for that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Clerk, open the roll. Cast your votes. This is the motion to roll the bills together. Okay, clerk, with the roll. Ayes 14, no zero. Senator Newman?
Mr. Chairman, there is a substitute for the bill because we added the clause to it. Is that right?
It's already incorporated.
All right, it's already incorporated. Mr. Chairman, this would allow up to 8 school districts to have an opportunity to have this program to where they could utilize their own employees for this purpose. The substitute does have the clause in it, and so we would have to actually fund it inside the budget. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move that Senate Bill 1576 as a substitute be reported.
Is there a second? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1576, amended with the substitute, be reported. Further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, open the roll. Ayes 14, no zero. The bill is reported.
Mr. Chairman, just 2 bills left. One of those bills is Senate Bill 1587. Senator Sutherland's bill. This was one that related to average daily membership on early graduation. The bill would desire to say that if a student moved on and finished and completed their work in 3 years instead of 4 years, that there would be some money available to the school who is anticipating that school to be in their school. It does have about a $10.8 million fiscal impact in FY 2020 and beyond. As a result, the committee recommended the clause be put on the bill, and I so move.
Okay. Motion properly supported to add the financial contingency clause to Senate Bill 1587. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That amendment is attached.
Okay.
What's the pleasure on the bill?
Mr. Chairman, I move that be reported.
Is there a motion? Is there a second? Motion properly supported? Okay. Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1587 as amended. Further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Clerk close the roll.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1. The bill is reported.
Chairman, that completes the Public Education and Higher Education Subcommittee report.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Newman. I believe I'll try to work through some of the sign-up list here before we get back to any of the subcommittees again. Senator Chase, are you in the room? Yes, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is Senate Bill 1355, which is, as you recall, the North Carolina coal ash bill, which was used to correct the coal ash disposal issue that we had in North Carolina. This is Plan B. We are still working through the original governor's bill. My desire would be to adopt 2 amendments here that I have today, and I have copies. Somebody like to pass those out? Let's see. Here you go. And the first one basically ensures that during the period of impoundment closures and during the recycling periods that may go on beyond the closure period, that the utility shall ensure that access to and operation of public facilities, we have Henricus Park, for instance, that during regular operational hours of such facilities should not be impeded. That's the first amendment, and the second one basically ensures that if some point in the future, if Dominion was, for instance, found negligent, that those costs could potentially be paid by Dominion instead of the ratepayer. It's the only bill that has that provision in it, and I think is an important one to add.
Okay, Chairman. Yes, Senator Wagner.
Senator Chase, are you already chief co-patron on a bill that's currently on the floor right now?
Yes.
Right.
It does not include these 2 provisions, though.
I understand it does not include these 2 provisions, but I think there's other parts of your bill, if it's unamended right now, that's still in conflict with the bill that you are currently chief co-patron on that's on the floor right now.
I would like to have the option to have a Plan B, and I'm willing to strike this bill once that bill is passed.
Well, We don't typically send bills out that are in conflict with
Right.
each other, two of them on the floor at the same time, and that's the purpose
Right.
of the committees. And
Right.
I think we're in a little bit of a problem here, Mr. Chairman.
Right. Senator Chase, a little bit of a quandary here. The bill is on the floor. What status is it on the floor right now?
I believe it's in third reading.
Third
I think
reading?
we endorsed it.
Mr.
All right,
Chairman, I'd be glad to have the bill go by for the day if you'd be okay with it, so that it's still here in case there's a problem, unless you, sir, don't want to do that. But it seems to me that that would be the best
We
option.
can do that, Senator Chase, since it's on third reading.
That'd be
It
great.
would, and it would not have financial implications for the budget we're going to develop over the weekend.
May I
So-
also ask that we adopt the two amendments?
We can do that.
So moved,
If you,
Mr.
or do you have those, Lisa?
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can
If, yes.
could I ask the senator a question? I'm not sure if she understands something in her bill. I just wanted to ask her a policy question.
Sure, go ahead, and we'll.
Senator Chase, I've been paying a lot of attention to this, obviously working on it for some time too. But your bill doesn't have any sort of rate-making mechanism or any way to recover this. So if that is the case, do the ratepayers have to absorb all this cost in a short period of time?
No, I mean, my desire is to combine the bills together and simply add these two amendments and make sure that they're a part of the governor's bill.
So you don't want this bill? Okay, that
Correct.
makes me a little more comfortable. Thank you.
I understand now. I think, Senator Chase, if the members are interested, and I'm going to call on Senator Newman, we can adopt the amendments in concept, and then we would pass it by for the day.
Perfect.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, I move the two amendments in concept.
Okay, motion properly supported to adopt in concept the amendments that she's requested here that we have in writing, have given over to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Was there any other change that you wanted?
That's all.
Mr. Chairman, I
Okay.
move
Thank you
that it
very
go
much.
by for the day.
Okay, motion to pass it by for the day. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Senator Chase.
Thank you.
We will have that in the bosom of the committee.
Got one more subcommittee that I
Okay.
forgot.
Senator Newman, you have another bill?
Just one more. There was in our subcommittee, Senate Bill 1348. Mr. Chairman, this is with the Department of Education. This adds the energy career clusters to a list of 14 other cluster items in the Code of Virginia. There was a lot of support from the nuclear industry, the natural gas industry, and also from the solar industry. Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee recommended 6-0 that the bill be reported, and I so move.
So that was without amendment?
That's what it was, but I'll put it on if you want it.
No, it's fine. Okay. There's a motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1348 as described by Senator Newman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Whoop. Clerk close the roll. Got it? Got you? Okay. Clerk close the roll. Ayes 14, no 0. We're adding one there. Okay? That's 1348. So then that clears your, okay. Senator Stanley.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I was finding out all about Scotty Surville and his 23andMe results, so,
Okay. Senator Stanley.
and quite frankly, I think he wastes $99, so maybe we can put that in the budget and give it back to him. Okay, all right, since you guys have been crushing all my hopes and dreams, which hope and dream would you like to crush first?
You
Just so we can-
you choose.
Give me a second. Okay, let's start with Senate Bill 1331, because I'm hopeful.
1331, okay.
There is a amendment in the nature of substitute, I guess, still?
Do we have that?
We adopted it in committee.
Oh, we did?
earlier.
Okay. All right, in a nutshell, Mr. Chairman, there is no fiscal impact that I can tell with this bill, but in a nutshell, 1331 does not request
Green.
any state funding. It creates a paradigm for building schools and facilities using the creativity of the private sector and thereby in turn being able to allocate those private sectors to drive down the cost of a new building or retrofitting or upfitting a building. This is part of the school modernization package that I introduced this year. And quite frankly, it provides our schools with a tool in the toolbox for those localities to address their public school building needs. What we're trying to do here is enable and empower those localities to build positive net energy buildings using solar. And then from that, not only will that bring the cost down and defray the cost of electricity if they're self-sufficient in terms of being able to power themselves, but if the net meter is a positive, that they can turn around and sell it to the utility companies and make agreements with those utility companies for them to buy that green energy back from them. It also empowers those schools to then contract with private companies who build these kind of green schools that then can actually build the school and lease the school to the school division or in a lease purchase type of situation. So our amendments were to address some concerns that Senator Newman had. But other than that, this is a great bill.
Okay. All right. I have looked at this bill, and are there any amendments that are needed here?
Mr. Chairman, I think all the amendments were in the substitute.
We're in the substitute that's already been adopted?
Yes, sir.
I think we're good.
All right. It's a unique concept. The only question I would have, I wanted to clarify, in this kind of public-private partnership, would they still have to negotiate with the utility whether or not they're willing to buy the power?
Mr. Chairman, I'd answer that this has already been worked out through the Rubin Group and Mr. Dix and the utility companies, so there's an agreement with regard to that they would accept the power that was generated that would be on the net positive side. Is that right, Mr. Dix?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Wagner?
is that a bill we took up in Commerce and Labor, a separate bill? Or is this something that we hear from you? Because normally these issues are heard in Commerce and Labor.
Mr. Chairman, I would say to Senator Wagner, it's on page 10 of the substitute, lines 248 through 259.
I don't doubt where it is, Mr. Dix, and what I'm asking is, has that policy issue of that solar been vetted through the Commerce and Labor Committee?
Mr. Chairman, I would say to Senator Wagner that this does not change the existing policy or tariff relationship between a non-jurisdictional customer and the utility. So that issue and that policy has been a longstanding policy of the Commonwealth. So
Okay.
it's not a change in policy in that respect.
All right.
You good with that? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just one point, because
Senator
I know Senator Wagner, we have reduced and substitute the footprint that the solar and other can be. It can't be just a magnificent solar that because it's a school and they're selling it off without a tariff. It now has to be relatively close to the amount that the school would use.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Actually, with that clarification, Senator Stanley, it appears to be in good shape. But what's the pleasure of the committee?
Second.
Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1331. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Yeah, I'm over here.
Very good, here we go.
16 no 0.
16 no 0. That
Thank you,
bill
Mr.
is
Chairman.
reported. That's
I better just stop right there, right?
I didn't say that, but I was thinking that.
I know you were. I know you were. All right, Mr. Chairman, Senate Bill 1033, do you want to?
1033. All right.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for those that do not sit on the courts committee, this was referred for basically a fiscal impact that came a little late, but one way or the other.
Can you step over to my office?
Page 29. Whoa. Okay.
There's a fiscal impact statement that has breakdown of what those costs would be. Basically, this is a body-worn camera discovery bill, which basically uniformly determines for us now that we're moving into the 21st century of the collection and dissemination of evidence in criminal cases. In order to be fair to those defendants, when that evidence is collected, this bill sets forth a uniform policy of retention and distribution to defense counsel. Also, there are protections built in that protect certain victims when the Commonwealth believes that that protection or certain information must be redacted or protected. And finally, there is a mechanism by which the defendant then can also then seek that redacted information if they believe that it is exculpatory or necessary for their defense, and then the court can step in and do certain things in order to still maintain protections while protecting the defendant's rights
Okay.
of confrontation.
Okay, it appears this may be the bill of choice that was worked out
It was.
in committee. Anyone here, Senator McDougal's not here from Public Safety. Is there anyone here can speak to the fact that this, Senator Obenchain, on this bill that, on the body cameras, are you familiar with that one as far as, is this our commitment on that one? Or Senator Norman has had interest in this in the past?
Mr. Chairman, it passed 9-5 in the courts, 9-5.
Maybe we ought to wait to vote on it till Senator McDougal or Senator Norman get here to
Okay.
get their.
All right, let's pass that one by temporarily. if we
That's
don't.
fine. If it's all right with you, Mr. Chairman, my 7-year-old is here from out of town, and I'd like to go have dinner with him, so can you just vote on it and let me know my misery later?
We
Just-
can do that.
I
We will
think I
do that.
understand.
We
Now,
will do
Mr.
that. I think it's,
Yeah, I don't want you to do it in front of my kid.
oh, okay. All right, you got one more bill, Senator
Or
Stanley.
maybe I should bring my kid up here and I dare you to vote down my bills in front of my 7-year-old.
All right, Senator Stanley, let's hear the other bill.
All right. Now for your listening pleasure. Mr. Chairman, 1066, post-conviction relief.
Senate Bill 1066.
You might have seen that this got a little bit of publicity, but we had a gentleman by the name of Keith Harward who spent 33 years in our penitentiaries for a crime that he did not commit, based on bite mark evidence. It was not the junk science, the discovery that the science was junk that got him out, but it was the junk science that got him in the penitentiary. What this does in a very limited way is offer post-conviction relief to those persons who have been convicted of only certain crimes, really the most heinous crimes, based on what would have been junk science that is later discredited. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this bill passed out of the Senate with no fiscal impact whatsoever last year. This year, after we passed the bill or as we're getting ready to pass the bill in courts, which it did pass the bill, pass in courts, we got a fiscal impact statement from our Attorney General, who suddenly weighed in that he would need about $500,000 in order to do this. Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, I believe that this does not change anything or requires any more capabilities than they already have to process what would be probably a very limited number of petitions that would be submitted to the Court of Appeals. It is then, of course, the Court of Appeals, who has not asked for anything that I can see, that would determine the merits of the petition, either dismiss it, grant a hearing, make a decision, and return it to the Commonwealth, where the Commonwealth could decide to prosecute again or not prosecute again. So I would submit to you, Mr. Chairman, that this was a bill that the full Senate passed with bipartisan support. It didn't need a fiscal impact, shouldn't have to take a fiscal impact, so I can
Okay.
test that. But that's why I'm here, I guess.
The,
And it passed out of, well, I don't even know. I didn't write it down. Passed out of court, so.
Senator Stanley, it does appear that the issue has been raised, and I, for one, am uncertain of that. And as a precautionary measure, I would entertain a motion if someone would care to make it to the clause. Senator Obenchain?
How much money are we talking?
Mr. Chairman, the fiscal impact, which came late to the party, said that the OAG, no one else said, Commonwealth's attorney said it was indeterminate. Court of Appeals didn't really put a number on. OAG came and said $439,000 because they're going to need 2 assistant attorney generals additional than they already have, and they would attend court, and then at least 1 forensic trained investigator. And so they would need funding to retain independent experts. And so, they took something that was not there and just said, it's now here. $439,000 is what they asked for.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Obenchain?
Yeah, and I think that given what this bill calls for, I guess last year I was surprised that there was no fiscal impact attached to it. I think what the senator is doing is worthy, but I think we probably ought to attach the financial contingency
Okay,
clause.
is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I never where you find $1 billion.
Okay. Well, if we find that,
Bet you know
maybe
where to
we'll-
spend it too.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator
Chairman,
Stanley?
also, you're right. There's a substitute because The chairman of courts asked that I go work out the differences with the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Those amendments are incorporated. They made some suggestions. We followed every single one of them. Hopefully that brings the Supreme Court around, who knows?
Okay.
But,
All right, we had all right, we'll have to pull that motion. We had not entertained a second, so the chair would entertain a motion that we adopt amendment in nature of substitute. Motion properly supported. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, we have the amendment in nature of a substitute in front of us. I think we still have the same issue. Senator Obenshain, you want to offer your motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we attach the financial contingency clause.
Okay, in a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, what's the pleasure of the committee? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1066, amendment in nature of substitute as amended. Clerk, open the roll.
excuse me.
Clerk, close the roll. Aye 16, no zero. Senator Stanley, we will come back to that other one in your absence.
So that's fine, and I probably, and Mr. Chairman, I will say that just about the discovery bill, now that Mr. Norman's there, or Senator Norman's there, and can probably say, the Supreme Court, and I've talked with our Chief Justice, and Senator has also talked to our Chief Justice. We had, the Supreme Court had also altered the discovery rules in terms of production of documents and things and witness statements, and then had delayed it for 1 year for action by the General Assembly for some financial investigations. I believe that enactment has now been delayed 1 year. So it's either do we want to do this now or maybe wait a year.
Okay, all right. All right, Norman, with Senator Norman here, he's has some interest in going ahead with if we can have some input.
Senator Stanley, you don't need to present it. If I could call on Nate Green.
Sure.
On behalf of the Virginia Commonwealth Attorneys Association, I think.
And I've already presented the facts.
Expedite. Oh, thank you. As always, I'm a little behind.
Good to see you. Good to see you too. Good afternoon, Nathan Green, Commonwealth Attorney for the City of Williamsburg and James City County, here speaking on behalf of the Commonwealth Attorneys Association. We did receive word a couple days ago from the Supreme Court that the new discovery rules that have been enacted by the Supreme Court but delayed until July of this year have been delayed yet another year to allow the Supreme Court and this body to look at what the resources available, what resources are going to need to be available to the Commonwealth attorneys in order to do this appropriately. Again, the discovery was punted a year to July 1, 2020.
Okay, so Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And based upon Senator Stanley's communication with the Supreme Court and discussing it with the Commonwealth attorneys, is Mr. Jones going to prolong this discussion?
Yeah, it appears to be that prolonging is his aim.
Yeah. Yes.
Here he comes.
Mr. Jones.
Put your hands together. John.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Finance Committee. Our only thought on this bill, it will have a fairly significant financial impacts to some of these localities. For all of the localities that use body cameras, the storage for 5 years, which is on at the end of the bill on around line 75, it's an increase in storage. I think the policies of the sheriffs vary, and 5 years is a significant burden.
Really?
And I wish I had.
Okay.
Really? Let's go with it. We're killing this house.
Okay.
Man, this is powerful stuff.
Mr. Chair, it's never helped me.
Never helped you? Oh, yeah.
So when the time is right, I'll move to PBI.
Wow.
Whoa,
Hey,
whoa.
you see her?
Sir Norman, do you have a different motion?
I do not.
Okay.
Almost worked.
We have a motion properly supported that the bill actually be passed by indefinitely in spite of the cute little boy there.
And my son.
He's your son. No.
Mr. Chairman.
God, he started late in life, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, at least the votes will be green.
We're going to vote
And
green.
Mr. Chair, it will save he and his son a trip to the House.
That's
I mean,
right.
come on.
That's right.
Right. What's your son's name there?
Chandler.
Chandler. Thank you for being here, Chandler. Your dad does a good job.
Say thank you. Not to me.
All right.
He's
We have a
funny
motion
just
to
like
pass
his
the bill
mama.
by indefinitely. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Clerk close the roll. 16, no zero. The bill is passed by.
All right, I'm bringing this bill back with the son next year, and we'll see if I can still pick him up, okay? Thank you, though.
Sounds good. Thank you, Senator
Come on,
Stanley.
big guy.
Senator Locke?
Mr. Chairman, I have Senate Bill 1130.
Senate Bill 1130. Committee turned
And
their attention
what
to
this
Senate Bill
bill
1130.
does is it deals with training for school resource officers in public schools to have adequate training in working with young people, especially children with disabilities, mental health needs, and trauma experiences. And the substitute just makes it subject-specific training and makes those areas an option rather than a mandate.
Okay, Senator Newton. Okay. Senator Newman, you've heard that in education.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we've gone through subcommittee, full committee, and this has been vetted, and I think the policy is in proper order. It does have a fiscal impact, and therefore I would move the clause be placed on the bill.
Is there a second? Motion properly supported to add the financial contingency clause. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? What's the pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, this was part of the recommendations that came out of the study on school safety, and I would move the bill be reported as amended.
Okay, there's a motion properly, is there a second? Motion properly supported that Senate Bill 1130 be reported as amended. Clerk, open the roll. Clerk, would you hold a second? Clerk, close the roll. 16 no zero. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Peterson. Senator Peterson, Senator Searle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Senate Bill 1759.
Okay.
Senate Bill 1759 came here from Commerce and Labor this morning. It relates to a pilot program for a utility undergrounding project. The project is likely to be Route 1 corridor right in my district. The committee might remember in 2011, Senator Colgan and Senator Poehler passed a study that came through this body. The state funded $2 million to look at the Route 1 corridor in Fairfax County. Study came back, and about 3 years later recommended about $2 billion of investment. We're now at the point where the CTB and the NVTA have allocated about $500 million to be invested in this stretch of road. But VDOT does not pay to underground utilities. They only pay for an overhead relocation. This area will be transit-oriented development, so it'll be really dense area, and you don't have utility lines strung around in really dense area. We typically want to see that go under, but VDOT typically doesn't pay for that. And so what this would do would be, Dominion has proposed to do a pilot program where they study this, where they bury the lines, figure out how to do it, report back, that they rate base the cost, which would be about $30 million. And report back after it's done. And I'm happy to answer any questions about it. I don't think it has any fiscal impact to the state.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Wagner, I think you heard this earlier today.
We did hear this earlier today in Commerce and Labor, and it was referred to this committee. Let me tell you my concern in the road we're getting ready to walk down here, no pun intended. Typically, when we relocate utilities, whether they be above ground, below ground, or whether we're going to take them from above ground to below ground, that is part of the transportation project. And that is something we all absorb in all our different areas as part of the overall cost of the transportation project. What Senator Searle is attempting to do is add this expense on, not to what would be associated coming out of those that are paying for the transportation project, but coming out of out of Dominion or whatever investor-owned utility or co-op might be involved. This one single event has really no implication to overall rate structure. But heading down this road, we're going to keep piling on expense after expense. We're going to turn around and ask ourselves why electric rates are so high. Because the shift of this relocation of utilities over to the utility from VDOT in this case, or whoever's paying for the road construction, I think it's a bad trend. You know, he's narrowed the scope, brought it down significantly to this, but, you know, and in my conversations I had with Senator Saravelli, he said, well, we just want, you know, we need to reduce the cost so we get HB2 funding. So we get the cost down good enough so we can get some HB2 funding. Well, you know, this is the cost of transportation project in our region. Out of our regional money, we are paying to relocate every bit of utilities in the way of putting these projects in all the way down the line. And as the cost of the project, we're not laying that cost off on the utilities. We're not laying that cost off, whether it's sewer, water, internet, you know, broadband, whatever it is. That should be the cost of the project and shouldn't be part that's backdoor laid into the cost of utilities. Ultimately, I think it will result in a very large cost. That's why I voted against it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Is there a different point of view on the committee?
Well, you got it, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Saslow?
That's the Route 1 corridor, right?
That's right.
This is an area of Fairfax County that for decades was largely forgotten, and it got pretty run down. Well, there's only so many buildings now they can stick in Tyson's Corner and, you know, Bailey's Crossroads and places like that. But the Route 1 corridor remains it's going to change one way or another, and it's undergoing that change. And it would make it even more attractive to these companies. Now, the county may figure out a way to get money for this, but my point is that to get this thing probably moving and in the proper form, you know, we have that site-ready money, you know, that we use. Well, just imagine 2 to 3 miles of high-rise buildings. So sooner or later, it's going to happen because there's nowhere else you can go in the county. And that area, you can't believe the change that it would make when this occurs. And they need help. I mean, they can't do this for free. And I mean, Dominion's willing to put some money into it. They can't, I don't think they want to do the whole thing, but it seems to me if there's any way that we can help, and keep in mind, this is tax money that the state ultimately is going to have as these companies move in here.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Stewart?
I will make a suggestion if it helps. I understand what Senator Searle's trying to do. I have a little bit of angst about spreading this on the ratepayers across the state, but perhaps he would think it would be a friendly amendment to let the ratepayers in Fairfax County pay for this since it benefits that area. And I think we could do that through an amendment maybe that just allows it to be done by a county executive form of government. I think they're the only one.
I'd be happy with that. I had Legislative Services draft that in case it came up, so.
Okay. But how would that amendment go? Lisa?
Mr. Chairman, on line 37, after customers, insert that reside in a county with an urban county executive form of government.
Okay. Is there anyone to offer that motion? Senator Stewart, you're offering the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion properly supported to add that amendment, confining it to Fairfax County City Manager form of government.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Senator McDougal?
I want a clarification. Does that mean that only these 2 projects can be in Fairfax, or only the ratepayers in Fairfax are going to be paying for this?
We're starting down a bad road.
Because if it's the latter, I'm for it. If it's the first one, I'm not.
Okay.
I think it's the latter, the way that amendment went in. It's a good catch.
Lisa?
What was his first thing?
Obviously, your intent was the former.
I think you could add the same language in line 29 somewhere and achieve the former and not the latter.
Okay. All right, we need to have another staff attorney help us with this language for a little bit, so we may, Senator Sturgill, we may want to pass this by temporarily. Was there anybody here to speak in opposition to this?
I'm not here to speak in opposition.
Okay, we're going to pass it by temporarily to see if we can get something drawn to it. Okay.
For about 10 years.
Senator Peterson? Okay. Okay, Senator Peterson.
The only one I think I still have in front of this committee is the sports betting. And so, I don't really have much more to say about it. There've been a lot of things said. I'm happy to answer any questions. I've had a conversation with Senator Wagner on the lottery versus the private entity operator issue.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I also have a similar bill, but as you may recall from the discussion we had in finance 2-3 days ago.
Right.
The difference is that there is a percentage that whoever operates this, typically it's 10% of the overall bet gets. Under Senator Peterson's bill, a private operator would do that, expenses off the 10%. And then the state, I believe, would get 15-20% tax on that.
Mine is a 15% tax.
15% tax on
Which
what's
is for
left over.
for the bricks and mortar. For the online, I'd have an RFP.
Okay, under my proposal, Mr. Chairman, the State Lottery Board would be tasked to run it, thereby there wouldn't be any share, there would be no need to tax. All the profits derived, the entire 10% less an expense for someone to manage it, the state would realize all the money. And so I think it's a question of going down this road, if we choose to go down this road. Don't we want to maximize on behalf of the taxpayers of the state the money that we could make? And it's not really without precedent. That's the way they work in Europe. I know a number of other states are considering it, and I'm not here for the casino operators. I'm here on behalf of the citizens of Virginia, and I think if we're going to go down this road, we can. And you may recall, Mr. Chairman, from a meeting in December we had in Finance Committee when Mr. Hall was here from the Lottery Board. He did say they were perfectly capable, ready, willing, and able to handle this. And so that's really the two different versions of the bill, the two different concepts, and I think I've summed that up pretty well.
You did, and if I could make 2 points in.
Senator Norman, did you have something before he does that?
I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, later on today or tomorrow, I have a bill that is before the committee that says that if gaming is expanded in the Commonwealth of Virginia, whether it's casinos, sports betting, whatever, that there would be an escalating tax on it. I don't really care, who's got oversight over sports betting, but I have a bill that would apply a 13, 14, and 15% tax based upon the adjusted gross on all forms of betting.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Peterson.
I'd only make 2 comments, and I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people. And the first one I would simply say is, in my opinion, private enterprise can handle this more efficiently than the state can. And I understand the European model, and maybe this is my inner Republican coming out, but, the bottom line is. I mean, someone's got to say it, that I don't know if you want a state agency trying to run a business that's.
All right, Senator Ruff, did all 3 of these bills come to you?
Is this an ABC privatization bill?
Mr. Chairman, yes.
Okay.
They did come through and
they're conflicting.
They are conflicting. They cannot match up. My belief is that if there's enough capacity at JLARC, they ought to be added to the study with the casinos.
Okay.
And I would make that motion.
All right, you want to make short work of all 3 bills? That's what you want to do? Is there a second to that?
I would prefer my bill not be rolled in it, because my bill is a contingency bill. It only says if in sometime in the future that gaming is enacted in Virginia, then this is what the tax will be.
And, Mr. Chairman,
Senator Wagner?
I would prefer an up or down vote on mine. I think it's pretty clear what we're trying to do here, and there's no reason to worry about taxing, because there's no tax need to be applied, because the lottery will run it. Just like we don't tax the lottery profits right now. We apply the lottery profits to education.
Senator Newman, you
Mr.
got some
Chairman,
wisdom?
Well, no, but I don't like any of them clearly. But if we're going to do sports bet, I do think we need to look at it. Senator Norman's is not going to go into effect now. We still have the advantage of the JLARC study, but I would hope that we would study all of them that would purport to go into effect immediately, because we need the advantage of having a commission otherwise look at this. I mean, this is not simple stuff, is even as simple as this looks. So I would second the motion that the bills go into JLARC.
Okay, well, let's act on them one at a time then. Senate Bill 1238, the motion was to pass by with referring it to JLARC by letter. Okay, and there was a second? All right, further discussion. Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Okay, clerk close the roll.
16, no zero.
16, no zero. The bill is passed by and the subject matter referred to the JLARC study. Is your bill the big bill we're talking about tonight? Are you talking about your big bill? Is that have a part?
This is a freestanding bill. It says if gaming is passed, then this.
Oh, okay. Since we're on this, you want to go?
While we're on this, while I'd love to push it through, if we're going to have a study, let's study it. And I'm quite certain when JLARC looks at it, they're going to come back with a determination that the lottery is probably the right organization to do it. So if I can pick up some support out of JLARC, I'll never convince Senator Newman, nor probably Senator Obenshain,
all right,
of the issue, of the soundness of the issue.
Okay.
I will point out, though, this, Mr. Chairman, one last editorial comment. The newspaper I read 2 days ago said some $6 billion is going to be bet on the Super Bowl alone. 95% of that $6 billion will be bet illegally. And now, if you assume we take 50 states and assume we're 150 of that would be $100 million if we took 10% of that, which is what the lottery would make. That would be $10 million that we would be putting in the state coffers that we're not going to put in. And but we'll go in the pockets of certain unscrupulous Virginians, I'm sure, around the state, as well as the off-track sports wagering facility in Charlestown, West Virginia, which is probably 30 miles from Senator Obenshain's home.
Okay, all right, Senator Ruff moved and Senator Newman seconded that Senate Bill 1356 be passed by with a letter referring the subject matter to JLARC study. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll.
Why not?
Clerk close the roll.
That was Watkins' idea.
16, no zero. Well, we were fair on those two bills. Consistent. Senator Chapin, and then I believe Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here on Senate Bill 1707.
Okay.
And I think there's a substitute. I don't know if there's been you've got a substitute before you? There is a substitute that removes lines 97 through 110, or maybe just an amendment.
Okay. We don't have a substitute?
There's supposed to be, that removes lines 97 through 110.
Hey, Tommy, where's dinner?
What it does is it takes away, it fixes the fiscal impact. It's an important life-saving measure.
Where was it going to be?
Okay, well, just a second here. We'll see if we can come up with that amendment, Senator Chapin.
Thank you.
Okay. And is that what we have in the system?
Mr. Chairman, the system is showing that local government adopted a substitute.
Okay.
And so what's in front of us is
Is
the
that
version that
substitute.
came out. So
All right.
there's
All
nothing
right.
additional.
Senator Chapin, I think the authority looks good. What would be in question here in front of us is the potential cost to the state and funding mechanism. Has that been addressed?
That is addressed in the removal of those lines 97 through 110. This allows us to reach out and get grants in order to operate the authority, and we intend to work with the Tobacco Commission and other funding mechanisms that would not be the Commonwealth.
So it would not be funded from state general fund dollars?
It would not be funded from state general fund dollars,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
All right. And Lisa, if you had a chance to check the substitute to see whether that part he wanted omitted, it is? It's in good? Okay. All right, it appears the bill is in good shape, just no funding source, no expectation that there would be state funding at this time. Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1707. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Clerk close the roll.
Ayes 15, noes 1.
Ayes 15, noes 1. I'll flip it. Okay. I thought she wanted to make you explain that on the floor.
Senator Donovan likes me more than that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, have we got, you want to flip that? 16-0? Senator Donovan? Okay, all right. The bill is reported, 16-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chapin. Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 1738, which is a clarification definition, so I'm not sure why I'm here.
Okay, let's look at that. It's the blue supplement, okay, 1738, page 1. No fiscal impact? Okay. Actually, we have reviewed it now. Some of these late timing bills were just referred here when it appeared there may be some issue with it. This bill does what now? Just a sentence?
It just clarifies the existing code for prosecution of illegal gambling by specifically comparing illegal to the so-called sham sweepstakes machines. We heard it in courts yesterday.
Okay. All right, this has been vetted previously by the standing committee. No fiscal impact. What's the pleasure on Senate Bill 1738? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1738. Clerk open the roll.
Bill Kirko, I'm not explaining that silly thing on the floor. Thank
You
you.
want yours to hit, Mark? No? But okay.
Even with your amendment?
Clerk close the roll. Ayes 15, no 0. The ayes 15, 1 no. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Obenchain wanted to record a no vote. Okay. All right. The bill is still reported. Thank you, Senator Reeves. Senator Peake.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Page.
I was here yesterday and committee. We made a change, but apparently that change was not showing up on the site. We removed the 20% from the bill. So we had made that amendment yesterday afternoon, and then we were sending it up for finance to look at it to see if there was going to be any financial
Right.
impact.
I think what we needed was a clarification that there was no fiscal impact once you made the change, and it's my understanding that has been clarified and there's no fiscal impact. Is that correct? And you're shaking your head. Do you have credentials to verify that, or?
You might want to check with
Lisa?
someone else, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to clarify that this is actually a substitute that we need to adopt.
Do you have the
We've
substitute?
adopted the substitute already?
No.
No, but we need to adopt the substitute in order to remove the fiscal impact?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, and I see it here with,
It's
Lisa,
just
is
a-
the substitute that's been laid here, written by David May, is that the one we're working from?
May I?
Okay, good.
May I? See the one that you had?
Yeah, this is the page.
It appears, and the intent was, and I don't know if there's anyone else here to verify that, Senator Peake, is it your clear understanding that this addressed the fiscal impact?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that this did address it, and Ms. Riggleman and Mr. Troxel have talked with ABC as well, and that and if you look at the other fiscal impact, that this addresses all fiscal impact, the 20%'s removed, and the language that we added was just to allow, what was the referring to the code sections. Let me get my talking points now, Mr. Chairman. Yeah. The ABC had concerns about the code sections, and by listing them there in the substitute, that addresses the taxes and markups.
Okay, that's good. Senator Newman?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if staff has other thoughts. We were looking at it. I think that this fixes the fiscal impact and may help.
If we adopt the substitute.
If you adopt the substitute and then have it. So I'd move the substitute, Mr. Chairman.
Motion properly
That's our
supported to adopt a substitute for Senate Bill 1709. Any further discussion on that? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Did you move the substitute?
No, I didn't. No, all those in favor of the substitute signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now, what's the pleasure of the committee?
Move to report as amended.
Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1709, amendment in the nature of a substitute. Further discussion? Anyone here opposed to this? Okay, clerk, open the roll. Clerk, close the roll. Ayes 15, noes 1, the bill is reported.
Thank you to the committee for working with us, allowing us to get this work.
Thank you, Senator Peake, for working that through. Senator Servant.
Sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Servant.
This is Senate Bill 1763. It is a bill to prohibit balance billing in emergency medical services. As you probably know, balance billing occurs when patient goes to the emergency room. Unbeknownst to them, the doctor that sees them, is assigned to them, is not covered by their insurance. And then when they get home, they end up getting a significant bill that was not covered by their insurer. And so what this bill seeks to do is it does essentially four things. First and foremost, it prohibits balance billing in emergency medical care, number one. Number two, it takes the patient out of the equation when dealing with payment between the insurer and the provider or the hospital. It also ensures that if you go to the hospital with chest pain and it turns out that it was not a heart attack, you'll still be protected from balance billing, having sought emergency medical care for a condition like that, even though it didn't turn out to be an emergency. And then lastly, it sets how the reimbursements will be made by Bureau of Insurance will come up with an average based on the region that the provider or the hospital is located in, that averages together the other out-of-network reimbursements for emergency medical care.
Okay.
Or if it's a hospital that's being reimbursed, will be based on the fair market value, which is defined in the statute. And as I understand, there is a indeterminate fiscal impact, which is why I think this was set here.
Right.
I would, however, say that based on the information we've seen, there were 125 balance billing claims submitted last year out of about 7 million claims. And so we've tried to run the numbers on how much those 125 claims might add up to, and it's somewhere well less than $50,000 and probably somewhere around 20 to 35 in that range. So it's a pretty minimal, de minimis fiscal impact to the Commonwealth.
Okay, Senator Wagner, you had that in your committee this morning and also been working on this?
It was on the committee, and I had a bill very similar because I think all of us up here want to ensure that people that go in emergency room don't get stuck with very, very large bills. But I think the devil's in the details about how we calculate the fair reimbursable rate. And Adam has had an opportunity because it was coming here that an indeterminate rate, we generally don't like to send things out of here. So perhaps Adam can fill us in on what the determinate rate is. And then I prepared a substitute for this, Mr. Chairman, with a different way of calculating that I still consider very fair, that will keep those in the business more than whole, but provide a little degree of certainty that we can maintain the existing networks we have. So,
okay, with that, Adam, you want to give us an overview?
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Chairman, Senator Wagner, so, right, so there's an indeterminate fiscal impact, and while there were only 125 cases, I think the concern would be that when you incentivize, when you increase the payment for out-of-network services, that could increase or broaden the opportunity for current in-network providers to go out of network, to incentivize them to switch over, because then they would receive a higher payment for those services. So while there were 125 now, that could expand exponentially as those in-network providers go out of network.
Okay.
Is a concern.
So your substitute addresses that issue, Senator Wagner?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have that here to offer? And Senator Sturtevant, are you going to be good with potentially what he's offering?
Respectfully, no, Mr. Chairman. This was, I guess we had two different ways of approaching this reimbursement that were heard in Commerce and Labor today. The version that before you is the one that passed out and was reported. I would ask Ms. Seibert to perhaps respond if she could.
Yes, we
to
could hear some brief testimony on that.
Indeterminate fiscal impact.
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I thought I would respond a little bit to Adam's statement about people going out of network. I think the issue that we have right now is that actually the most favorable time to be out of network is right now, because we are able to balance bill patients to the nth level. We can balance bill whatever we like. Under the new bill that Senator Sturtevant has presented, there'll be a cap on what we are able to pay. It's a regional commercial average. And actually, I've got some information here. If you want me to pass it out, you guys can take a quick look. But it shows you what the numbers are, and those numbers are not large. The regional average payment for a sort of a medium case ER visit, which is a level 3, which is considered a medium case, and that's something that people come into the ER. You may have the worst headache you've ever had. You're not sure it's going to be an aneurysm or a really bad migraine. That's a level 3 case. The statewide average payment for that is about $236. That's it. And so, even if we were looking at a case where if you're looking at the state health plan, the state health plan paid 125% of Medicare, for example, that's an $80 payment. Even if you take that out, it's only about, like Senator Sturtevant was saying, it's $28,000. It's not a huge impact. So what I'm saying is that we have a cap already. So these numbers that we're looking at will be capped. People will not be incentivized to go out of network. They would be incentivized now. And like we said, we only had 125 claims at a time when it's the best time that you could be out of network, if that's the idea that you're looking at, because you can bill your patients right now. So we're willing to give up balanced billing, but we think it's important that we have a fair and transparent rate, which is why we're asking in Senator Sturtevant's bill to use the Virginia Health Information Database to come up with these numbers. These numbers are publicly available right now, the numbers that I have in this chart for you. And those are for level 3 cases. They have worked with the Bureau of Insurance and said they can come up with all the rest of those numbers as well. So we think these are fair payments. They're not, as you can see, they're in the $100 range. These are not ridiculous. But we still think that these are more fair than the in-network rate that is solely determined by insurers, which Senator Wagner has in his bill. And we don't think that's a fair thing. It's not transparent. We don't know what those numbers are. And again, it's solely determined by the insurance companies.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Wagner, you make a comment?
Yeah, I just want to say that within my bill, that rate is contacted by the average of the contracted commercial rates that are already there. So obviously, if they contracted those commercial rates, I assume they're making money that they can certainly live with. And by the health carrier for the same emergency service in the geographic region as defined by the commission, so it recognizes that all areas are not the same price. So I come to the calculation a little bit different, and I guess along with ensuring that our citizens don't receive these balanced bills, the other thing is we got to watch the overall cost of health care itself. And in my humble estimation, and clearly, but judging by the fight going back and forth, that my approach results to less expenses overall in the healthcare industry, and so that's the situation before you, and that's my concern. I do not appreciate the comments that's tilted in favor of the insurance companies. I do think we should focus on what do you honestly believe is going to pull down the overall cost of healthcare. Ours, of course, is a self-administered plan and obviously run by Anthem at this time as a contractor. But that is my concern. And so, both bills get to the issue of of protecting the patient from a balanced bill in an emergency room situation. The question is the underlying built-in cost from that. And I believe, although we have Amy, do we have someone from the health insurance industry here?
Right. That's what I was going to ask, if whether we have the issue adequately framed here. Is anyone who poses both concepts, or is this, yes, we're, all right.
Mr. Chairman, Robert Barada here on behalf of America's Health Insurance Plans. We're the national trade organization for all health plans. First, I will tell you that I take exception to saying that the network rate is set by insurance companies. That's a rate that is a contracted rate that's agreed to by both sides. where the physicians groups accept a rate and we accept to pay that rate. So it's a free market rate that has been set. So to say that we determine what that rate is just wrong. The second thing I will tell you is that when you eliminate balance billing or surprise billing, if you go the way Senator Sturdivant's bill is, then you will establish surprise premiums. Because as you add more and more cost and you eliminate that billing, it's going to be reflected in premiums. So you're shifting one problem for another. So in that matter, we think that you should go down the path that Senator Wagner is planning because it's going to protect patients in a better manner and keep premiums down.
All right, thank you. It appears this was an issue that wasn't totally resolved in Commerce and Labor. We're going to need a couple other people here. We've got insurance providers. We've got the Hospital Association. The Hospital Association have a position?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Brent Rawlings, Virginia Hospital and Healthcare Association. We strongly support Senator Sturdivant's bill.
Sturdivant's bill?
Yes.
Okay, all right. How about the doctors?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, Scott Johnson, on behalf of the Medical Society, we strongly support the bill.
The bill, the
Senator
Sturdivant's bill,
Yes, sir.
okay.
I'm Doug Gray on behalf of the Virginia Association of Health Plans. We are very opposed to Sturdivant's bill. And the challenge is the formulas that have been set up in this bill will result in much higher payments to be out of network than in. And we have 98% of providers in network right now. So you're going to solve the 2% of the time when somebody gets a $30,000 bill by increasing everyone else's costs across the entire pool. And if that happens to the Commonwealth, you're going to see a big impact.
Okay. So is there anyone else to speak just very briefly?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Jill Hankin from the Virginia Poverty Law Center. I know this is a tough issue. You've got to pass a bill to protect consumers, and there's this dispute about how much is going to be paid is what's holding things up. On balance, I'm supportive of Senator Sturdivant's bill because I think taking an average is a fairer approach than just continuing to look at the in-network payments by the individual insurance plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Is there some possibility this could be worked out? I don't know if the other members are in the same position I'm in, but we got friends on one side, friends on the other. Senator Donovan?
We always vote with our friends.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to reflect on a couple of things here as a physician that has contracted before. Physicians have zero power in contracting. We receive contracts from the health plans with preset reimbursement schedules. We are told you have 10 days to sign the contract or you can choose to be out of network. None of the aspects of the contract are negotiable. The only free market that physicians have left is to choose to be outside of a network, which is not easy. And when they choose to do that, it causes a lot of challenges and problems. And yes, they do get paid more because the concept of health insurance is that the volume of the patients that you see offsets the discount that you provide to be a network provider for those plans. So the idea that we should not be allowing the insurance companies to both set the contracts and set what you're going to get paid out of network, if you take away the last negotiating tool of physicians, you're taking the last speck of competition out of the medical market for us. I support Sturdivant's bill.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make one final comment. My original bill that I put in just basically went off a percentage of Medicare reimbursement. And I know in California what they've said is 121% of Medicare reimbursement. And I hear from the hospitals, and let me, when we raised, as you're well aware, Mr. Chairman, that we raised Medicaid up because the hospital said we're only getting 70-some% of Medicaid. So as part of this big issue we resolved last year, they wanted 83% of their cost. They say Medicare pays 88% of their costs. So I thought by going to 121% or 140% of Medicare reimbursement and setting that as a cap, more than covers everybody, since we were told that Medicare only covers 88%. And so that was my original approach to avoid this. But let me tell you, we have listened to this tussle in Commerce and Labor, and I know that Senator Norman and those of us that are on there have heard this debate over and over and over again. And nothing gets better. And I shudder to put a price fix on this, but I'm at a wit's end of trying to figure out how we resolve the issue on behalf of the patients.
Inquiry of staff, when do we have to have a bill of this nature reported? I want you to say it verbally.
Mr. Chairman, any bills that would be impacted by the budget would have to be acted on by tomorrow. However, we have till Tuesday to act on the rest of the bills.
And, Mr. Chairman,
Senator Norman.
and in your objective opinion, is this a bill that would impact the budget?
I believe it is an indeterminate impact that we could further evaluate if you'd like us to, but it does have an indeterminate impact based on what Adam said.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Norman.
as I was sitting here listening to this, it took me back to a nightmarish time in my public service career where we used to deal with electricity. And sometimes where we had parties that had a hard time reconciling it, we would tell them, it is really in your best interest to go out and resolve this, because if you cannot do it, that we're going to resolve it in a way that's probably going to make both of you unhappy. And if we have a timeline, if we have the time available, while it may be totally aspirational on my part, this is not an area I have expertise, but I can tell you my patience with it is getting pretty limited. And I would, if we have the time, I would encourage the parties to get together and see if they can't work out a compromise. And if they can't, they're certainly not going to like the direction I'm going, and it doesn't mean that anybody in the committee will support it, but.
You guys spent the entire offseason
Okay.
talking about this, right?
That was a suggestion. Is that,
I would just offer a couple of comments, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate always willing to try to find a compromise. I would say that I think the relevant stakeholders spent the entire off-season since last session trying to reach a meeting of the minds, and that's where we are today. I'd also say secondarily that all of these issues were litigated about 6 hours ago in Commerce and Labor, and there was a somewhat of a resolution. And then I would say thirdly, as to whether there is an impact on the state budget, which staff indicates is indeterminate, I think Ms. Seibert's point that to the extent there is an incentive to be out of network, that the greatest incentive exists now while balanced billing is permitted. And the data shows us that we've got 125 claims in the last year, which is, again, I think a de minimis impact on the budget when the incentives are the greatest for that out-of-network.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask Senator Sturtevant one question. Would you be objectionable to just a flat percentage of Medicare, recognizing with some kind of adjustment, recognizing that there's different cost of living areas, which we already have well documented, just to make it a flat percentage, and that should solve Senator Donovan's problem also, in that, it would be that fair number. I mean, we've been told repeatedly by the hospitals that Medicare or Medicaid is now 83% of their costs, so one would assume that if we go substantially above Medicare, which is even higher than Medicaid, that we would find them in a situation to make profit for our nonprofit hospitals. And I would hope that would be able to cap the issue. That way we can provide protection for our citizens both ways, and we'd have a firm idea of what the prices would be.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Donovan.
I will say I'm not proficient in all these numbers, but what commercial insurance gets paid at a reimbursed rate is not anywhere near what Medicaid gets paid. And so I don't think making an analogy to Medicaid as a solution for a commercial product is an apples-to-apples financial equation, and I don't know enough of how to solve that. I can simply say I don't think that's
Okay.
I think other people,
All right.
yeah.
I think we will pass the bill by for now. I think if there were some clarity for the members, we could perhaps take it up at the desk tomorrow on the floor, and I think but we just need some clarity. Or I think that would solve our dilemma with timing.
We certainly could report back further on what the impact might be.
Okay, if we get some clarity, then I think Senator Norman, if we talk this over, I guess we could either advance the bill and work on a substitute, or we can meet at the desk tomorrow. Do you have a preference?
That's fine. If they can't work it out, we can do it at the desk, and I guarantee you they'll be unhappy.
Okay, well, I think we want people to be happy, so we will pass it by for now, with giving an opportunity for some dialogue, and hopefully the crush of time, as we have lots of decisions to make, and the clock helps us make those decisions. So we'll try that, if we could do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I think Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Senate Bill 1680.
All right, Senate Bill 1680.
Yes, sir. This deals with transit and an operations assistance allocation model that they set up a year or so ago, and it's based on performance and metrics, which makes complete sense. This was, I believe, the first year of it impacting some transit companies' systems, and it did a pretty good job. The 39, only 9 of them ended up in the red, but 5 or 6 of them, although only 1 or 2% off, or 1.3, 600,
Okay.
pretty significant numbers.
Here we go.
Sorry about that.
Excuse me, Senator
Kind of
Mason,
rattling on while you're trying to find your way, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. But the background was, we had asked DRPT to, for the next 2 years, give up to $5 million worth of backstop to cover some of these operations. That's too much, so we backed that down for the next year. They have $10 million in operation reserves that they use to account for, lower than collected revenues. And so they have agreed that 1 year of backstopping some of these transit systems that have been impacted by the new performance allocation model, up to $3 million would make more sense. And that's what we're here to ask for, sir. This does come from an operating reserve account that is already there to supplement any loss in state funds due to the new allocation formula, and they have about $10 million there now.
No general fund fiscal impact.
No, Mr. Chairman, let me just say this, and I'm sorry that Senator Barker isn't here with us, because he's taken a very good interest in this. Senator Mason, I support the concept of making these people whole while we adopt the system, but there's serious questions, particularly from Senator Barker and the Northern Virginia team, although I have questions from Hampton Roads about how the formula was designed to begin with, sure, and in training a formula that's unfair to that. And so I know that's going to be a topic that we take up in the Transportation Subcommittee in preparation of the whole budget, and may have language in there, but I would make the motion that we put the clause on here, which we can direct in the budget, the money that was just proposed from you on this, and move forward. Or we don't need the clause? It's non-general fund.
Yeah, it's operating.
That takes it out of their money. Okay. All right. Let's move forward with it, but.
Move the bill forward, and we will also add language in the budget to, is that what you're looking at?
Right. Well, I just see Ms. McClellan ears perk up, but Mr. Barker has plans for you, I can assure you, and it's tweaked my interest also. So we'll be working on that in the meantime,
Okay.
parallel to this,
All right.
Mr. Chairman. So I move to report.
Okay, there's a motion that the bill be reported. Is there a second?
Second.
And I think, with that being the case, Senator Mason, it will be up to Senator Barker to make his case as far as whether or not we do anything in the budget.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I know they've been negotiating the specifics of his transit system and making some good progress. I think that will go well.
All right. Any further discussion? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill?
Not in opposition to the whole harmless, Mr. Chairman, but Ron Jordan on behalf of Hampton Roads Transit. Hampton Roads Transit, as you remember, Hampton Roads had a specific carve-out last year in the legislation directing it to develop a regional transit plan. We're just getting that underway, and it's going to be 18 to 24 months before we go through that. And the whole harmless for 2 years would make that a much more rational process. Senator Wagner's familiar with that. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, maybe we need to eliminate that carve-out.
Okay.
That's not a joke, Mr. Chairman.
It was a planning responsibility, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, you remember that.
Okay. Be that what it is, there is a motion to report the bill. It's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, open the roll. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 13, noes 3.
Ayes 13, noes 3, the bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman,
Senator
members
Mason.
of the committee.
Senator Serval, still got you hanging around.
Well, that I'm not sure.
We figured something out.
Okay?
This is how I would describe it. We figured out a way to do this to charge only Fairfax County customers, but it would require more than a nip and tuck to the code section. We'd have to cross-reference some language in 15.2, 2404.
He just wanted to do something.
And so.
Senator Serval, I'm sorry.
So we need to cross-reference some authority that exists in 15.2, 2404 and do some more extensive statutory jiggering. Mr. Rust with Dominion thinks he can do something and, but it's not gonna be ready in the next 10 minutes. And
Okay.
so what I would say is I could have a floor amendment that would accomplish the objective of limiting it to Fairfax County customers. Basically, the process, is my understanding, is the county would have to advance the money, and then Dominion could pay them back through this
Okay.
procedure in 15.2.2404, but it would require a little bit more
Okay.
statutory work.
Senator McDougal and Senator Stewart, I think you all had expressed some interest in this bill. Are y'all okay with moving the bill forward conceptually and then limiting it on the floor?
I think he
Okay.
says he'd be comfortable with what I said.
Mr. Chairman, just for my own personal vote before, I'm going to vote no on all of this because I think we're just starting down a bad road to go.
Okay.
Road projects are road projects. If it involves relocating, whatever it involves relocating, it should be paid for by the road project and not laid on the ratepayers. But regardless, and if I'm a ratepayer in northern part of Fairfax, I'm not sure I'm too interested in helping that. So, but anyway, that's my personal opinion,
All right.
and I'm going to continue to resist.
All right. Senate Bill 1759 would, as I think the consensus was going in the direction, while there's some still opposed to the overall concept, that there were some willing to support it if we limit it to Fairfax ratepayers for projects in Fairfax.
Right.
Right, okay. And that's what you're agreeable to?
Yes, sir. I can get that done by the time this is on second reading.
Okay. You seem like reasonable. All right. So conceptually, that's what we have on the table. Or do you're saying you don't want to vote for it? Okay. Okay. My understanding is the attorneys that normally work on this are tied up in another committee. We really can't address it now. So I suppose if the committee's unwilling to.
Can I say something real quick?
Senator Serval?
The window to do this, to get this done, is like 6 months. After 6 months, the whole opportunity goes poof. And so
Will you allow our two people that weighed in on this veto power if they don't agree with what you come up with?
Yes.
Y'all good with that? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we should make that a triumphant,
Triumphant, okay.
a three-party deal.
Three-party veto, all right. You've got a high standard there.
Yeah, I know.
If it comes out of here, all right?
Got it.
All right, there's a motion conceptually then that Senate Bill 1759 be reported. What we have is the bill as it is, with the understanding that it would be amended in a manner that's acceptable to the proponents of having it for Fairfax County ratepayers for
Right.
projects in Fairfax County.
Right.
I'll move it.
Motion properly supported. Further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Okay. Clerk. Ayes 13, noes 3. The bill is reported, subject to conditions.
I got it. Thank you. Appreciate the accommodation.
All right, thank you, Senator Serval. Do we have committee reports left, transportation, anything else? And we got some members that have bills? Okay, I better look at those, okay. Senator Carrico, you got a bill? On the green sheet, okay.
There's two different bills.
Oh my God, you're 1 minute too late.
We're
I was
getting there.
laying an egg trying to decide how I should vote because finally he told me that you're 100% against the transit one. So
Ready?
I abstained you. Originally I voted you green because they were like.
Carrico, this deals with UVA at Wise?
Yes, this is a bill that came at the request of UVA Wise to deal with some issues that they had been seeing to allow them to do reduced rates for students within the Appalachian Regional Commission. What has happened is nearby states and institutions, Kentucky, Tennessee, are offering students reduced tuition. And in order for them to compete with those states that have already put this into place, this gives them the opportunity to be able to keep more Virginia students from going over there and recruit in the Appalachian Regional Commission. There was an amendment put on it that was requested by the community colleges, and just to make sure that the language was clear, that they would not be affected by it because they have a ability to reach out 30-mile radius outside of their college, right there at UVA Wise.
Okay. And it's here for fiscal implications. It's been vetted in the Education Committee. Senator Newman is not here. Is there anyone else that was on the Education Committee want to speak to this? Anyone in the audience here to speak to this?
They trust me.
Here's some, okay.
Mr. Chairman, Fran Bradford, Deputy Secretary of Education, very supportive of this. UVA Wise thinks it'll be about 50 students once fully implemented, and we'll just give them an opportunity to get a few more students into their doors.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Norman?
Yes, sir.
I realize you didn't anticipate being involved, but I'm looking at the working papers on this, and the last bullet says this proposal could negatively impact Radford University student recruitment effort, as it doesn't presently draw nearly 50 out-of-state students from the states included in the Appalachian region.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We've had a conversation, and Chev has had a conversation with Radford, and I think that we are okay with that. But I do not want to speak for Radford.
Okay.
Well, I see that the attractive face for Radford is coming forward.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Lisa Gadati from Radford University. We don't have a position on this legislation. We don't think it's going to impact our student recruitment efforts.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. What's the pleasure of the committee?
Move to report.
Is there a second? Second. Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1519 to make Senator Carrico happy. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. All right, clerk close the roll. 16 no zero. The bill is reported. All right, Senator Donovan, we cleared up one of your bills. You got a couple more you want to address? Are they, if they're in a committee report, what's that? $16.89, maybe, have we addressed that one? We haven't? Oh, okay, all right. Senator Donovan, you do have one of them still outstanding, 1689.
Mr. Chairman, this is Benefits Consortium that we heard last year, which is essentially the opportunity for membership organizations to develop association health plans. There's some changes this year because the Bureau of Insurance has added some language to ensure that the individuals that would be covered under these entities are protected should the entities not succeed. But other than that, it is the same bill that we saw last year and came out of Commerce and Labor today.
Okay. Well, Senator Wagner disappeared here. Let me catch up with you here. 1689.
It's a late referral, yeah.
Have we had any additional information on the potential fiscal impact?
I'm not sure what I don't know of an fiscal impact, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, according to the Department of Taxation, the bill may have a negative general fund revenue impact because it's unknown how many plans would be established that would be exempt from the insurance premiums license tax.
That's correct.
This is probably more significant and impactful than it appears on paper here. Is that a pretty big initiative? So, Mike, do you have anything to add on this? Okay. Okay.
I'll just add that it's dependent, of course, on how many people would switch to the association health plan, so that if the total insurance premiums paid on the taxable side.
All right. So I guess I would ask for those who would have concerns one way or another. Most of them are probably out in the hall working on another bill. Nothing on this one? No problem? Okay. All right, well, let's, what's that? Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, while this could potentially be a reduction in taxes on the insurance plans for the general fund that we're alluding to here with the fiscal impact, the best data that we have are that people who leave the individual marketplace and go to one of these plans save $10,000 a year on their premiums. And these are the families that are really strapped with high deductible, high-cost health plans because they're in the individual marketplace.
Okay, all right. Anyone here then is still remaining opposed? Any member of the committee have anything to say about this one? What's the pleasure of the committee? Is there a second? Second. Motion properly supported that the bill, that is Senate Bill 1689, be reported. Further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Clerk, close the roll. Ayes 12, noes 4. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Senator Donovan. I believe that
Okay,
cleared
there's
your
two
bill.
more, I'm told.
Oh, we did? Okay. Okay, yes, we do. 1589 and 1598.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think I got these files from my office, so I have the information now. 1589 is a Virginia Works portal, Mr. Chairman, and this is going to be a collaborative between VEC, VEDP, community colleges, SHEV, and it's taking the portal that we already have in the community college system and looking at interconnecting all entities, workforce, and secondary education in Virginia. They're going to spend the next year looking at figuring out how to do this so that in Virginia, people that are looking to figure out how to get into the workforce or how to get the education to get a job will have one place they can go.
Okay.
There's a substitute, Mr. Chairman.
So, okay.
We have an
All right.
amazing staff.
Is there a
Mr.
motion to
Chairman.
adopt the substitute? Motion properly supported to adopt the substitute. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the substitute is in front of us. Does this take away the fiscal impact, or we?
Mr. Chairman, the fiscal impact is to be determined. The money that was allocated in the budget was to allow to cover the cost of basically discerning how to do this. I think that's being negotiated as we speak, and the clause, if not on the bill, I understand will probably go on the bill. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to add the financial contingency clause? Motion properly supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. I think the bill has been adequately explained. Anyone in the audience to speak against this? For support? Motion properly support, was there a second? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1589, amendment in nature of a substitute. Clerk, open the roll. Okay. Clerk, close the roll. Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 1598.
Okay, okay. All right, Senate Bill 1598.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's a substitute.
Substitute. Moved in second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, substitute is in front of us. Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bill that comes from the Joint Commission on Health Care that is basically in response to some of the challenges and deaths we've seen in our prisons over the last few years. And it is looking to direct the Board of Corrections to promulgate regulations to ensure that we do an appropriate assessment and that we standardize that and medical benchmarks and outcome measures across all of our jails. So this is really just to promulgate the regs, Mr. Chairman.
It appears with this, there would be minimal, if any, fiscal impact. Not sure, is it? Have y'all evaluated the substitute? Mm-hmm. No? Okay.
I don't have much to add, except that the fiscal impact is indeterminate.
It's indeterminate.
I think the substitute adds something about mental health screening to the previous.
It does. It adds screening for developmental disorders, so that as they're developing the regulations, that they would look at developing a comprehensive screening for each individual that went into the jails.
Oh, is it developing the regulations? This is
Yes,
what
sir.
this
It's
applies.
developing the
Okay.
regulations.
Okay.
It's not
I would say
implementing
that this would
anything
be
yet.
minimal, if
Yeah.
any. So what's the pleasure of the committee? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1598. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, open the roll. Is somebody voting for Louise, or? Okay. Are anybody voting for McDougal? There we go. Clerk, close the roll. 16 no zero. The bill is reported. All right, Senator Obenchain, I see you're back, and I see the secretary is here. It may be a good time, Senator Wagner, to take up the transportation subcommittee and see if we can deal with those.
Pick up Senator Deeds' Bill 1770. I know Senator Deeds was not here, but the committee on a unanimous vote voted to pass the bill by indefinitely, and I would so move. We voted unanimously last night to pass Senator Deeds' bill by unanimously. I think he understands why. So I would so move that we pass it by indefinitely.
Okay, Senate Bill 1770. Senator Deeds' bill, the motion is to pass by indefinitely. He understands that. He appeared in front of the subcommittee. Clerk, open the roll.
John. John.
Okay. All right, we'll get our votes recorded here. All right, clerk, close the roll.
All right, and then we took up and at length, Mr. Chairman, Senator Obenchain, Senate Bill 1716. It dealt with the Interstate 81 tolling. It was a rather, I thought, unique approach to how to get the required repairs and widenings of certain key portions of Interstate 81 completed. And so with that, I think it was a 2-2 tie. We just kind of rolled it out of there after about an hour and a half.
I think it was 2 for reporting.
1 against reporting, and 2 abstentions. Since then, I think we built a broad consensus. All the members that I have spoken to have agreed we'll strip out any car tolls, double the truck tolls, and we're good.
They're good, all good, all good. All right.
Senator Obenshain.
Yeah, Senator
Mr.
Obenshain, I think, yeah, we'll hear from you.
Mr.
See what you
Chairman,
wanna do.
members of the committee, actually, Lisa has a substitute.
Okay.
Which I think may help
Okay. Are we gonna
ease
go with a plan
the
and,
journey.
and no funding source?
Something like that.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move the adoption of the substitute.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Motion properly supported to adopt the Senate Bill 1716, amendment nature substitute. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is in front of us. Senator Obenshain?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is a pale shadow of its former self. It is simply a bill that really does build on the hard work that VDOT and the stakeholders engaged in over the course of the past year in trying to put together a corridor improvement plan. This bill does strip out the tolls. You know, I would respectfully submit that it's been a useful and very productive discussion. I know that people have different opinions about how we should do this, but quite frankly, we in the Shenandoah Valley along the I-81 corridor have been talking about the need for improvements for an awful long time, but nobody's done anything. And this was an effort to try and break the logjam. Working with the administration, we have addressed some of these challenges. But what this does is it would establish and keep in place the corridor improvement program, which really represents a lot of the work that's been done by VDOT, the work evaluating the problems, the challenges, and the proposed solutions. It creates corridor improvement fund, the special non-reverting fund. It also creates the I-81 committee that would make recommendations to the Commonwealth Transportation Board. One amendment I would suggest to the substitute before you is in line 76 and 77. I would suggest that we increase the Senate representation from 3 to 4 members to match the House representation on that. So it would be a 16-member I-81 committee instead of a 15-member committee, and I would move that amendment.
Okay, so on 76 and 77, we would substitute 4 for 3. Is that correct? That's what we're need to do?
And 16 for 15.
And
16 members.
Okay, all right, at least you got that? All right, was there a second to that motion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, we have that amendment, Senator Obenshain.
And this also just requires plan updates on a regular basis. And it would be my hope that we can move forward either this session or in the future to create the funding for that non-reverting Interstate 81 corridor improvement program.
Okay, Senator Carrick, I know you've worked on that. Have you things?
I can't add anything to it. I just would like to say that Senator Obenshain and I have been meeting over the year just to look at improvements to I-81. I know there have been a lot of conversations about the toll issue, and I think the framework has to stay in place for us to move forward. I will say I haven't seen my name on here, so I should cut bait and run. But
he was such a valuable wingman last night.
Well, yeah,
right. Oh, yeah, he wasn't there.
I was debating Greenway.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I hope that we'll look favorable on it and be able to get out to all those constituents how this would operate and how it would work.
His name should be on.
Thank you, thank you. Actually, if his name's, but at this point, Senator Obenshain, I'd like to be at least a co-patron if I can get my name on there. I'm good. I really compliment you all on the plan.
We're going to put you on the original too. So,
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, if I could add a comment, I know the Secretary's going to speak, but I just want to compliment the Secretary and the entire staff of VDOT for the amount of public hearings and the amount of public attention that they made throughout the valley. Although this is not going to get us where we need to be, Perhaps by including legislators in this, perhaps we can build a broader consensus and come back next year with the impetus to get this ball over the goal line instead of getting another 4 downs or a penalty back 5 yards or however you want to do it. But
we talked about bipartisan cooperation. This really represents such an effort. The Secretary and her staff, Deputy Secretary Donahue, they've worked incredibly hard to help us identify solutions to the challenges that we have on the interstate, and I thank them as well. Thank you.
Madam Secretary, you want to speak? Somebody said this might be your birthday. Is that correct?
I was afraid that if I said it, I might be here for longer, but yes, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Finance Committee on your birthday.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sure you're happy to be here.
I just bet you are.
I will just say that, my time in the General Assembly, CTB, and in this position, I said this last night, that I've never seen the engagement I have on this particular project. 12 public hearings, 1,000 attendees, 2,000 comments, businesses working with us to develop a framework. The framework is really important. We worked with all 3 districts, 63 projects. Originally, we came up with $4.3 billion worth of needs. That is only 20% of what we could do. The plan actually recommends $2.2 billion worth of improvements. They've been identified and prioritized based on delay, safety, and access to jobs. While I would very much like to move forward with dedicated funding, I do believe this allows us to keep and secure the effort and the projects that have been done, and to keep working, which was also part of the plan, on law enforcement, multimodal, which is in the plan but still needs to be continued, on operational issues and technology, and truck parking.
Okay.
And I will say that it was a tremendous bipartisan effort. I really thank Senators Obenshain, Carrico, and Delegate Landis and Terry Austin, all of you who have worked so hard what really has come out is that the 81 corridor is incredibly important to Virginia.
Okay.
So,
And
thank you.
Senator Hanger, since your bill also deals with funding on 81, would you want to roll yours into this and be a chief co-patron, and that way you'll have your name at the top? I don't know if that.
Well,
or you
I
wanna
could
do
do it. Well, that depends on what we do with Senator Edwards here.
Okay. All right.
But I may want to do that. Senator
You want to deal with this bill, or you want to hear about Senator Edwards' bill too?
If we could hold y'all up, I guess I need to gauge the sentiment of the committee here, because obviously to get through the whole process here, I don't want to. This we need to pass. We need to pass as it is. And I can sign on to it. I don't need to be a chief co-patron.
Okay, I move to report.
I can sign on.
Second.
Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1716, Amendment Nature Substitute. Clerk, open the roll. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1, 2 abstention. The bill is reported. Thank you. Senator Edwards.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Senate Bill 1470, for which Senator Hanger's SB 1322 has also been rolled into.
Or would be. We haven't done that yet. We just recommended it yesterday.
Okay, recommended. Okay, recommended. There's the substitute. And it appears, given what's just happened, this is the only funding bill for ID1. And what it does, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, multiple parts. First of all, it provides a 5% wholesale tax, and that's important. It's the taxes at the rack, at the wholesale level, where these tankers pick up the gas and they take it to other states as well as Virginia. You don't even see it. It's not at the pump. It's at the wholesale level for both gasoline and diesel, and there is a floor. It would raise about, as I understand it, $791 million statewide, of which $200 million would be dedicated to ID1. The issue that we've all been debating in the last few years, especially this past year, is the need for funding for ID1. And this will provide adequate funding for ID1, about $200 million. And because it's at the rack, it's the wholesale level, people wouldn't see it at the pump, and it would not be reliant upon tolls at all. So therefore, you don't have the kind of opposition that you have that was pretty widespread with regard to tolls. It does have an enactment clause in which the Secretary would study for the future the impact of increased fuel efficiency, hybrid and electric vehicles, and so forth, and look at options for future funding streams for transportation infrastructure in the Commonwealth. She would report back on December the 10th of this year. So it looks both immediate problems and to the future as well.
Okay.
And it's a simple way of doing it, which we've always done, relying upon some kind of a gas tax. And it's, again, I emphasize the wholesale level, which is important. It's not at the pump, and people wouldn't even see it. But it would raise a lot of money for all over the Commonwealth. You need funding in Westmoreland County. You need funding in Southwest Virginia. You need funding in Northern Virginia. We balkanized Virginia so far because of a lack of a statewide funding stream. And therefore, Northern Virginia, with its authority, has tolls, it has taxes. Hampton Roads has tolls and gas taxes also for that. This would not take away what's already there, would add additional revenue to the Commonwealth as a whole, of which $200 million we dedicated to ID1, and that should be sufficient, we think, to solve the problem of ID1. That's basically what it does.
Okay. Senator Edwards, Senator Wagner, you want to give the subcommittee report?
Thank you, Mr.
Then I have some remarks to make.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just to summarize what, in effect, Senator Edwards' bill does is double the gas tax, which gets us almost to what North Carolina pays in terms of gas tax. It generates another additional $880 million in road transportation money. Under the terms of his bill, it takes the top $200 million off and dedicates it to a fund to improve Interstate 81. The balance of $680 million would be allocated through the formula to all the transportation districts, including those on the I-81 corridor. It was the subject of debate of the fact that during the course of the conversation, the Secretary weighed in that explained that she had $7.8 billion, if I remember right, of requests under HB2 and had $780 million to pay for those requests, which is a factor of 1/10 of what's needed. Yeah, I have long supported increasing the fuels tax as a way to get around here. You know, the little debate about the $200 million off the top, but I understand the importance of I-81, and certainly it's a one. We could not reach consensus, Mr. Chairman. I think two of us thought it was a good idea. Two or three of us didn't think it was a good idea, but it was been late in the evening, and so we bring this bill to you with no recommendation from the subcommittee there in front of the full committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Edwards, I've got some thoughts on this now, and you and I've talked about it. And actually, I've counted his a little bit, so I've got a thought on this. Members of the committee, Senator Edwards was interested in increasing the fuel tax about 10 cents. What he ended up, because they did it in the manner that we did in 2013, they indexed it on the percentage on the rate that was established then. So that's how we came up with the larger number. That's right. I firmly support increasing the fuel tax, the gasoline about 10 cents and a like amount for diesel. It's not going to come out of here. It's not, and in that form, Senator Edwards, and in part, we know, we wouldn't be able to get anything out of the House this year. We shouldn't think ahead like that. But we did put one thing here, Senator Edwards, that I'd like with that if the committee would indulge us to do, Senator Wagner. We put an enactment clause on there. I guess this would become a Section 1 bill if we did that charged the Secretary of Transportation with evaluating the impact of increased fuel efficiency and increased use of hybrid and electric vehicles on transportation revenues and potential options to provide a sustainable funding stream for transportation infrastructure, and report to the General Assembly no later than December 10th, 2019.
Make the motion that we strip all the language except for the enactment clause. And that would be an amendment I would propose.
Okay. Is there a second to that? All right. So we're just gonna, we're gonna have just like a plan is what we're after for how you fund transportation with increased fuel efficiency vehicles, Senator Edwards.
And
It's a victory.
Mr. Chairman, let me just say this. I did vote for the bill because I recognize that we just don't have enough money in the transportation budget. But I'm also been around here a couple of years and know the reality of the situation. So I'd like to see something come off of this committee.
Okay. All right. Senator Edwards, that seems like that was a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none,
I'd like to hear from.
all in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. Thank y'all. I'm on your all side, but I'm dealing with reality here now.
Would you like to hear from the public or?
No.
No.
We know where we need to go with this, obviously. And I don't mean to be, I am being facetious, but that's where we're at. Yeah, I think so.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, with that.
I move the report as amended.
Okay. Yes, roll the bills together, the two together. All right, first we need a motion to roll the two bills together.
So moved.
Which two bills?
Okay.
Mine and.
Right.
And his, yeah, the two.
Right. Reset? All right, cast your votes. Right. Okay. All right, clerk, close the roll. All right, the bills are rolled together. All right, now what's the pleasure on the substitute?
Move the report as amended.
Motion properly supported, report Senate Bill 1470, which incorporates the other bill. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, open the roll. Okay, clerk, close the roll. Ayes 10, no 6. Senator Edwards, very good.
Okay.
Thank you. The bill is reported.
Mr. Chairman, we had one more bill in the committee, Senate Bill 1762, Senator Sturtevant's bill, and what Senator Sturtevant was attempting to do was add an additional requirement to provide for traffic studies on proposed landfills. After we reviewed the existing language and understood that VDOT had done the studies and determined there was no traffic management plan required, the committee on a vote of 5-0 voted to pass the bill by indefinitely, and I would so move.
Okay, thank you. All right, there's a motion to pass by indefinitely Senate Bill 1762, and I would say that Senator Sturtevant, we were able to address, at least in part, his constituents' concerns, but the bill was not necessary, could not be passed. So, clerk, open the roll. Clerk, close the roll. Ayes 16, no 0. All right, I have Senate Bill 1471, and even though this deals with the composite index, and I think what I'm going to try to do something in the budgets to kind of set this up for future years, but there was some interesting information, members of the committee, that was provided in this. You know what the value of all the property in Virginia was if you want to buy it? A little over $1 trillion. It just kind of puts it in perspective. You could buy, I mean, the current deficit in the current year's budget, at the federal level, you could buy all of Virginia. It's right at $1 trillion. But members of the committee, I would ask, or I would move that my bill, which is Senate Bill 1471, be passed by indefinitely. Motion properly supported that the bill be passed by indefinitely. Clerk, open the roll. Okay, clerk. 16, no 0. Thank you all, members of this committee. Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I could take up Senate Bill 1369 that
Okay.
DGS is very interested in and have been waiting very patiently.
Okay.
It's an amendment in the nature of a substitute.
Do we have the substitute then? Or has it already been adopted?
It's already been adopted.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is a bill that I believe started out over in general laws and ended up in front of the courts committee. And I'll try to make it as simple as possible. What it does is it deals with the statute of limitations where a claim can be made for defective or faulty workmanship. In Virginia, with the exception of government, there are statute of limitations whereby an aggrieved party can bring a cause of action, and it can either happen within a specific period of time or after it is discovery. The exception is that there's basically no statute of limitations when it comes to a government agency, and that goes back to common law. The amendment in the nature of the substitute deals with two things. The more clearer part deals with a surety bond. You got a construction project, you got a surety bond. What the bill provides is that the claim can be made within 1 year after the completion of the contract, 1 year after the expiration of all warranties or guarantees. So whatever the warranty or guarantee would be from a time a defect was discovered, it would have to be brought within 1 year after the expiration of those warranties and guarantees, or within 1 year of the discovery of the defect of a breach of warranty. DGS did not embrace it with great affection, so I tried in the amendment in the nature of the substitute to perhaps placate them a little bit. I was not successful, but I added an extra 5 years from the time of discovery. More than you want to know, but let me tell you what I think is dispositive of. The attorneys who are on this committee sat on the courts committee and listened to it, and without exception said that the Senate amendment in nature substitute was a clear articulation of what the public policy should be. There was some question about whether or not there was a fiscal impact. DGS suggested that there might be a fiscal impact, and that's how it ended up here. All I know is that I have two fiscal impact statements which indicate that it was a budget amendment necessary, no, was a fiscal impact estimates, indeterminate, and I think that we are still there unless you have one in front of you. There were a whole parade of contractors that testified in front of the courts committee in support of this. And succinctly, while I can tell you they were in support, there were two concerns. One, every minority contract organization in Virginia supported the bill, the SWAMs, because they felt that they could not compete because of the current statute of limitations and because it goes on forever. So the SWAM folks testified, the contractors testified in support of it. The other thing that came out from the major contractors was that because there is an indeterminate period of liability, that they had to build a exposure within their contracts that were going to drive it up because they don't know when they would have the exposure without this statute of limitations. So that's it. DGS doesn't like it, and that's the way it is.
Okay. Thanks, Senator Norman. I guess the DS, y'all want to make a statement on this? Joe?
Mr. Chairman, committee members, Joe D'Amico with DGS, and as the chairman said, we don't like the bill.
Okay.
The administration opposes the bill. A couple things as it relates to the bill. The first part of the bill that talks to performance bonds, I think the construction contractor community made an attempt and actually looked at that performance bond section as though it just related to them. It does not. It relates also to non-construction services, professional services, information technology services. They tweaked that section as well, and they changed the definition to when work is completed. Well, there's no definition of the work. Today, the way it reads at the completion of the contract. In the completion of a contract on the construction side, we use certain forms that we actually close out projects. In other procurements, we close out a contract, complete the contract by payment of the final invoice for services rendered. So there's some concern there with how that current section of the code that's been in place since 1982 has now been addressed. And again, I believe when the contractor community looked at it, it was just on the construction side, but there are further implications. As it relates to the second part in the statute of limitations, DGS isn't opposed to a set statute of limitations. What we're concerned about is throwing 5 years, 10 years, 15 years on the wall to see what sticks without having any data to support a time period. We build our projects today, and we ask our design teams and our construction teams to build them with a 50-year life expectancy, and that's how those projects are priced. So should we wait 5 years? And if a defect occurs after 5 years as a result of the contractor's construction or the defect that they've caused, should that burden come back on the taxpayer after 5 years, after we paid for a building for 50? My point is, Mr. Chairman and committee members, DGS is willing to have this discussion with the contractor community, which we haven't had and afforded the opportunity to do so at length and really bring all the stakeholders to the table and have a discussion. And so DGS would suggest that the bill be laid on the table. We take this next year to sit down with the stakeholders to talk about this and come back with a time frame that's reasonable for all. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Senator Edwards, you got to speak to this?
I'm not a Republican, but I'm a lawyer, and I think this is the right thing to do.
Okay.
The sovereign immunity, applies in defending the shield and defending suits. The king can do no harm, but this is flip-flop. It's a sword. It's not a shield. And there ought to be some reasonable period of time in which the people who perform the work can be at rest and know they're not going to be sued.
Okay.
So something needs to be done.
Okay.
I've had similar cases. I'm familiar with the issue.
What other quick comments?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Gordon Dixon. I'm with the Associated General Contractors. We represent about 90 prime contractors, about 200 subprime contractors, and supplier vendors. Couple points. One, 39 other states have found a way to solve this problem. 39. So that's not just some, but 39 of the states have figured this out. It's my understanding that our organization went to DGS, I think in 2015, and identified this as an issue. DGS responded back to them that they didn't see this as a problem. It is now starting to surface more often, to the point now where the insurance and the bonding agents are now advising their clients, which are my members, how to better manage their business going forward. So this is an issue of you got to address it now or you got to address it later, but we need to address it very soon. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Julie?
Thank you, sir. Julia Carlo Hammond on behalf of Associated Builders and Contractors. The one thing I'd like to add to the discussion deals with SWAM certified businesses. So a lot of this arises out of a Supreme Court decision in 2016. And one of the points that the Supreme Court made was to the general contractor in the case and said, if you don't want this never-ending liability, here's how you need to write your contracts to pass it on to your subs. And so GCs across the Commonwealth, rightfully so, are protecting themselves by writing it. And so this never-ending liability is going on to their subcontractors. So at a time when we are increasing SWAM certifications, we are increasing projects and mandates to use these businesses, they are choosing between a never-ending liability and the opportunity to work on a state contract. And they are going to build all of these costs into the cost of doing business. So while DGS says it may cost money later, it's certainly going to cost money up front as these businesses are putting in their bids to do work in the Commonwealth.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Overchange, you want to go now or you want to wait for? Okay, yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if I will, and I'll be brief. Burt Jones, the Associate Vice Chancellor for Facilities for Community Colleges. I did submit a fiscal impact. For my agency alone, I'm seeing an impact to the construction pool of between $2 and $4 million annually in order to increase the level of inspection and oversight that we as the Commonwealth provide if the contractors are basically going to be off the hook after a year. The other concern that I have with the change to the performance bond language is the surety is off the hook after a year. The way this is written, the contractor is on the hook for at least 5 years. So if the contractor goes out of business, the surety is off the hook, the Commonwealth is on the hook for the entire amount of whatever defect is found.
So you would support the bill?
I would, no, sir.
Okay, that's what I'm sorry.
I'm firmly on the page with DGS.
Gotcha,
And that if
gotcha,
given an
okay.
opportunity,
Okay.
I would like to work to find a reasonable solution that meets the needs of the Commonwealth's agency owners and the industry. It's just, I don't see this personally as a good fit for our agency. And as Joe said, we build for 50 years. Industry, commercials bill for, 5 to 10 years. They flip the building, they're gone. We're in the building forever. So I think we need some more coverage than what commercial real estate does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Senator Obenshain?
Mr. Chairman, all I wanted to say was I think this represents a good balance. This is twice the statute of limitations. It extends to 2 times the statute of limitations that applies in the private sector. It does provide some significant accommodation to the sovereign that I think is appropriate. And I think we do have a balance here. And I talked to a number of representatives from state government, and they said, well, this is the people's money. And it is the people's money. And what I would say is that the sovereign also owes a fiduciary duty to the taxpayers of Virginia to make sure that they are looking after these substantial investments that we're making and providing them with twice the time that the private sector has to bring these suits, I think achieves that balance. And coincidentally, I was meeting in a wholly unrelated setting with a commercial contractor today and just asked as an aside about this bill. And they said, as a practical matter, most of these contractors who would be impacted by this, they do a lot of business with the state. They do a lot of business with the public sector. And if there's a problem that's identified, they're going to work with them. And they're going to see that it is rectified. So I would respectfully submit this is a good balance. And if it's the appropriate time now or at some point, I would move to report.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just make 2 points. I forgot to point out that this does carve out the Department of Transportation, first of all. So they are not included. In the second point, with all due respect, I've got 2 fiscal impact analysis by DPB who have not quantified or been able to determine the fiscal impact. They've said it indeterminate and doesn't require any budget amendments. So I don't know how we got here in the first place, but there's where we are, sir.
Okay. I think there was some reference from DGS that they were going to require additional inspectors. I'm not sure whether that's where it was at or not. Senator Ruff, this I guess with the courts, because this has been the subject of litigation and correctly there, typically this type of legislation would emanate through general laws. Have you observed anything on this? You got a position?
No, we sent it directly to courts because it really was not our realm of lawsuits.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would move to report the bill.
All right, motion. Is there a second? Okay, motion properly supported. Any further discussion? I would, it appears that there's some interest in trying to negotiate. Perhaps, Joe, I have greatest respect for the operation you run. Maybe y'all can talk a little bit as it goes through the process. It appears it's going to be moving along. Okay, thank you.
I'm here for the next 20 days. Happy
All right. Sounds good. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Clerk close the roll.
15, no, 0, 1 abstention.
One abstention. Okay, the bill is reported. Thank you, Senator Norman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Next is Senate Bill 1574, which is an amendment in the nature of a substitute that Lisa is distributing, and I would move the amendment in the nature of substitute be adopted.
Okay. All right, is there a motion? Oh, you moved. Is there a second? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, the substitute is in front of us. Senator Norman?
Mr. Chairman, let me state what the premise is. We know from a number of pieces of legislation that have been introduced this year that we're dealing with various forms of gaming. Of course, we know about the casinos. We know about revolutionary racing in New Kent, which is about to put 700 historical horse racing machines in there, which are close to slot machines. They're going to put another 700 in Chesapeake. We know about the Pamunkey Indians. So there is a lot going on about gaming. I think the reality is, Mr. Chairman, regardless of what happens this year, gaming is going to be a continuing issue before the General Assembly. And at some point, we are going to cross the Rubicon on gaming in one form or another, whether it is sports betting, casinos, additional historical horse racing. What 1574 does is it says that if any form of gaming is authorized by the General Assembly in the Commonwealth of Virginia, that there will be a gaming tax. And this gaming tax is consistent with the Lucas bill that she graciously allowed me to put a substitute on yesterday. And it would pertain to any form of gaming with the exception that it does provide a legacy to parimutuel horse racing. They are not impacted on it, but the historical horse racing machines are. And so what it provides is that it has a escalating tax that's on page 2 that you'll see on lines 32 through 37, and it escalates from 13% at the first 200 million of annual adjusted gross receipts to 15% on the 300 million adjusted gross receipts. So it is an escalating tax. I ask myself, if we're going the gaming route, what is the public benefit to the Commonwealth of Virginia? And so I came up with a proposed distribution mindful of various concerns that have been expressed across Virginia. You'll see on line 40 that 30% of the taxes that are collected are going to support transportation and construction, 1/3 to the I-81 corridor, 1/3 to the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority that hopefully could help them with some of the issues that they have going on up there, and 1/3 to HR TAC down in Hampton Roads. We've had a lot of discussion about the modernization of school construction and improving them, and 30% would be used to support school construction and modernization. That's on line 46. Line 48, 10% of it would be used to increase teacher pay in the Commonwealth. Line 49, 10% to try to constrain the increase in tuition and fees at higher education. And line 51, 10% to the locality. Line 53, 9% for marketing and promotion of these gaming destinations and tourism in general in Virginia, and 1% dealing with the treatment of gaming addictions.
Okay. You know, yesterday when you were describing that, Senator Norman, I thought it came up to 160%, but I see now.
I was an English history major. I took some license.
I
will say, Mr. Chairman, in all honesty, that it was a mere oversight. I'm not prepared to deal with it today if the committee is generous enough to report it. But I do want to shift the numbers around if it gets to the floor just a teeny bit, because I left out the horsemen and I shouldn't have done that.
Mr. Chairman.
There's complete oversight.
Senator Carrico?
Just a quick question. I was kind of looking at the numbers in the substitute the other day, and I know the original bill that was introduced, that I think it was 25% that went back to the locality, just trying to address some of the issues that they felt would arise from the needs that they had in the locality. While I'm not opposed to a lot of what you have here, one of the things that stood out the most in the conversations in the area that I represent was the public safety aspect of you're bringing in a casino, you're bringing in large number of people, but you're not putting money into the fact that you're going to have more security at these locations and the impact it has in the surrounding counties that are in that area. I think a lot of what you've done addresses what that 25% would have accomplished by school construction, teacher salary, but that's the one piece I don't even see in this part of it. And that's the one question that arose the whole time this conversation started about casinos in areas of the state.
Yes, sir.
How do you address that?
How do I address that? Well, I was mindful that basically the local reimbursement under your original provision was 25%. I will say, and I'm not being impertinent, under Senator Lucas's current bill, which you participated in, this is the allocation that is contained in that bill, and I was trying to remain consistent. But I also was trying to pick up some other things, as you mentioned, to try to help with the transportation costs, to try to help with the teachers' compensation, to try to help with school construction, which I thought had an ancillary benefit, particularly to some of the fiscally stressed localities. And so I'm happy to carry on a conversation, but at this point, I'm not prepared to amend it to 25% because then I got to reconfigure everything else, and I'm not that good.
No, Mr. Chairman, I don't think amended it to 25%. I'm not asking you to amend anything. I'm just saying that's the one piece that was left out of the equation when you were dividing the money up.
Yes, sir.
I see the money going to the education piece of it that the 25% was going to take care of. But that is the one question that was brought to our attention every time the conversation came up.
Yes, sir.
Because of the people that live around the area where the casino was going. Well, could go.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other comments? Senator Ruffus came through general laws? Nope. Where'd it come from? Right here. Okay, well, it's a good place. This is a good place. It was going to end up here anyway, just well start here, I suppose. Senator Wagner, you had engaged earlier in a conversation. Are you ready to engage, or are you subdued by now?
I'm pretty much beat to death, Mr. Chairman, but I'll make this one comment. It really, the tact I'm taking, this doesn't really impact it at all because the lottery would run it, and it would be just like proposing a bill to tax our lottery receipts. I mean, it's crazy. It's already in the fund. So my bill takes care of that. So I'm agnostic towards it, but tend to support my chairman wherever he walks. So.
Okay. All right. Anyone here to speak in opposition to this bill, which kind of lays out the idea of what we would do with this pot of money if we had this pot of money? Okay. What's the pleasure of the committee?
I would move to report, please, sir.
Motion properly supported to report the bill. That is Senate Bill 1574, amendment in nature of a substitute. Further discussion? Clerk, open the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Is that complete? Thank you, Senator Norman. The bill is reported. Okay. We've got Senator Obenchain. Did you still have some bills here? Okay. We want to clear the docket if we can survive that long. You got a bill too? Okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
I got three.
You got three? Okay. Two.
I have 1431.
Okay, give your attention to Senate Bill 1431. Senator Obenchain.
That is on the docket, right?
Yes, it is. We've got three on the docket.
This is simply FOIA bill, which requires provides for local elected officials to receive online FOIA training. Simple. And promotes transparency, keep them from getting in trouble. Little education goes a long way.
Okay,
Making it online, I believe, eliminated the fiscal impact.
Mr.
Oh, it is online.
That's correct.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anyone
Stewart
here
would
speak
like
to
to
this
give the
bill?
training.
Anyone here? Senator Stewart?
I've got a question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Senator Obenshain, is this a mandate to the local elected officials?
It is. It is. It requires them to watch TV for 30 minutes.
And are you aware that most of these localities have a FOIA compliance officer?
I am, but I'm also aware that it is not, that local elected officials are not uniformly receiving the kind of training that they need to help them avoid getting dragged into court for noncompliance, open meeting violations, and much as we receive the ethics training, I think this is going to do them, be a real benefit to them.
Okay.
The FOIA officers, they largely deal with FOIA requests. They don't deal with open meeting issues and are not providing the kind of training that local government officials need to stay out of trouble.
Okay. All right, what's the pleasure of the committee? Anyone here speak in opposition? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1431. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll.
I got it.
Clerk close the roll. Ayes 16, no 0. There was no fiscal impact on that one with the change. Okay. Senator Obenshain, you have 1602?
1602, which is it's the omnibus criminal record bill. As you may have read in the newspaper, the Crime Commission undertook a study this past year about fingerprinting and also about our criminal records database, and what it found was really shocking. About 700,000 criminal convictions were not making it into the criminal records database, which is a huge problem for background checks, for weapon purchases. That means that people who've been convicted of serious felonies are not showing up in the computer checks. And these are not just minor felonies. There are hundreds of murders, rapes, and armed robberies. So this is a bill that is a result of a unanimous Crime Commission recommendation to clean up the process, provide guidance to law enforcement agencies, and better lines for determining whose responsibility it is to get these fingerprints, get the records into the criminal records exchange database.
Okay.
And I believe that the fiscal impact has been removed of this. It's mostly serving as traffic cop. Am I correct, Kristen? Maybe not.
This will be offset by fees. I know there are additional positions that will be required.
Fiscal. Nothing. It's basically designating responsibilities. There are some recommendations that did require money.
Right.
This was just clarifying whose job it is.
Okay, right. I think we're clear on that. I was looking at some numbers here from previous numbers, but it looks like there is no fiscal impact now. So what's the pleasure of the committee? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1602. Clerk, open the roll. Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Scratch.
Line amendment.
There's line amendment, Lisa?
Thank you.
Cancel that.
Mr. Chairman, the amendment is on line 764 after 19.2.303.2, insert or. On line 765 on the substitute, after entered, strike Or D, any finding is made that the person, and insert period, the clerk of each circuit court shall make an electronic report to the Central Criminal Record Exchange of any finding that a person charged on a summons.
Okay. Senator Obenshain moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion properly supported. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That appeared to be technical amendment. Is there any further discussion?
Move to report.
Motion
As
prop,
amended.
is there a second? Motion properly supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Clerk close the roll. Ayes 16, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Obenshain?
I've got 3 files up here in front of me, but I think
17,
I
16,
only
is
have
that
one
there?
more bill. Which one?
1716, is that still out there? Or did we already do? What's that? We already took care of that, Senator Obenshain. Okay, I just hadn't crossed it off.
That it?
How about that? All right, thank you, Senator Obenshain.
Thank you.
The, Senator Howe.
You want me to do my bill?
Yes, do your bill. Page 10. Do we have a substitute here for that? Okay. I'm glad y'all this well organized with all of this paper shuffling.
Mr. Chairman, I move the amendment of nature substitute.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion properly supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Senate Bill 1651. Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's widely recognized that Virginia is falling behind our peer states and the country in commercialization of research, technology, innovation, and entrepreneurial success. In the past, the Virginia Research Investment Committee, the Virginia Catalyst, and the Center for Innovative Technology have really led the way for us and should be commended for all they have done. But the time has come to consolidate, reimagine, and steer Virginia towards a new economy. That's what this bill is aiming to do. It's a very complex situation with many stakeholders across the Commonwealth, and it should be done correctly, not quickly.
Okay.
This bill enacts a diverse stakeholder group from higher education, business, and entrepreneurship to develop a plan to consolidate, restructure, and reimagine and transition programs to a new entity. And the idea is to have this group get together and come back to us in time for the next session.
Okay. I know there's been a lot of discussion, perhaps controversy, differences of opinion, I guess I should say, at the table on this. With this substitute, this is just will move forward with a plan. Senator Newman? Y'all good with that, Senator Saslow?
I've got 15.
I think it's in.
Which is a research and development
You
facility.
gonna roll that into the?
I think it's already rolled in. No? Oh, I'm
Did it roll?
sorry.
Okay. All right, when the. Okay, motion properly supported to roll Senator Saslow's bill, which is 1597? 1597 into Senator Howe's bill, amendment nature substitute 1651. Are you ready, Mr. Clerk? Okay, clerk, open the roll.
Obenshain.
Okay. All right, clerk, close the roll. All right, the ayes 16, no zero. The bills are rolled together. What's the pleasure of the committee? Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion properly supported to report House Senate Bill 1651, amendment in nature substitute. Clerk, open the roll. Would you get ready? Sorry about that. All right, cast your votes.
Can you hit mine? It's not here. Thanks.
Okay. Clerk, close the roll.
Wiring, yes, it is.
All right, the bill is reported, Senator Howe.
Straight
Thank you.
vodka.
Hopefully, y'all can resolve all those thorny issues.
Thank you for
Senator
adding the
Howe.
horseman.
Senator
Oh, my God, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Senator McDougal. And Senator Lucas, you still have a bill? I do. Okay, we'll get Senator McDougal, and then we'll get you. All All right.
Mr. Chairman, this was 1352.
Senate Bill 1352.
Mr. Chairman, this was heard in Ed and Health, I believe, and was reported from there and came here. Mr. Chairman, this it deals with the Office of Medicaid Fiscal Oversight. As we're all are aware, we are dealing with some difficult financial decisions because we find ourselves $460 million out of balance because we missed the numbers on Medicaid. This would ensure that we don't do that again. Mr. Chairman, because I know you're very sensitive about money, we made sure not to spend any new money. We just took it from one place, put it in an independent location. Mr. Chairman, this would make sure that the numbers are transparent for everybody to see, reported monthly. There are no political games, and we're making real decisions about Medicaid because it is quickly becoming our largest expenditure in the budget. Mr. Chairman, I will remind the committee that had we not missed this number by $460 million, we could have given the teachers a 10% raise and returned $1 billion in taxes to the citizens and made Senator Sasslaw happy. And I don't know what could be better than that.
All right. Senator McDougal, or
You can't give me enough.
That's mostly correct.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that's accurate.
Senator McDougal? All right, Senator McDougal, the hour's getting late. I know the committee wants to react to this. I do see the Director of DMAS sitting in the back. I had hoped that we were going to have a conversation about this before we got this because I thought that we could amend it a little bit.
Mr. Chairman, I would hope that the director would be excited about this because knowing that this would be transparent and out in the open, that everybody would be looking at the same numbers. Because I remember sitting in this room asking whether the actuarials were correct because some of us felt they were not and was told, no, you are wrong. They are 100% right.
Right, you're right. And there's a long story that goes along with it. I won't get into that right now. But
also prevent those long stories in the future.
I would, Senator McDougal, if we report this bill, ask you to keep an open mind as we work through the HHR budget in terms of how we might do this, because I do know, I won't put the director on the spot right now, but I do know she's doing a lot right now. Hired a new actuarial, they're reviewing policies, but putting this in play will continue the conversation so we can perhaps get where you want to go.
Mr. Chairman, specifically, and I've said this a number of times, this did not happen under the Northam administration. So this is not directed at the current administration. My concern, and I told Senator Barker this, that if we don't put a systematic change when some people that are not doing it the right way are in place, then we could be in the same situation again. This puts a systematic change to prevent future problems.
Okay. All right. What's the pleasure of the committee?
Move to report.
Motion properly supported to report the bill. That is Senate Bill 1352. For discussion. Hearing none, clerk, open the roll.
Besides that, she's a nice lady. That's 12 notes for. She's a nice person. Hold up.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be devastated to tell Reagan I could not convince Senator Sasslaw with my eloquence tonight.
All right, the bill is reported, and Director Lee, I think hopefully we'll be meeting a little later. I think make it clear this was not aimed at you. You're doing, I think, a great job trying to get this resolved, and Senator McDougal's trying to help you out. We'll see if he really is. All right, Senator Lucas.
Deja vu. I feel like I just did this. Mr. Chairman, again, Senate Bill 1750. The bill was introduced for two of the rural community hospitals in my district, Southampton Memorial Hospital in the city of Franklin and Southern Virginia Regional Medical Center in the city of Emporia. These two hospitals are part of a group of approximately 25 hospitals that participated in a supplemental payment program. You will recall that some years ago, the governor's office directed DMAS to file state plan amendments to obtain federal approval for these programs. The two state plan amendments were approved by CMS at the federal level, and the state plan amendments are referenced in this legislation. What this bill does is it authorizes a locality who imposes an assessment on the local hospital to transfer those funds to DMAS, and then DMAS will obtain the federal match under the approved state plan amendment. This bill does not require the expenditure of any state or local tax dollars. This bill has nothing, I repeat, nothing to do with Medicaid expansion. This bill only applies to the hospitals who participate in the two state plan amendments.
Senator Lucas?
Yes, sir.
I believe there are some implications here that haven't been taken into account that could fiscally impact the budget. So we're going to have our HHR meeting sometime later tonight and tomorrow, and I'm not sure when else, but we probably should put the financial contingency on it.
I kind of suspected that was coming, so.
Okay, so would someone want to offer that?
I do.
Motion properly supported to add the financial contingency. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, what's the pleasure of the committee?
Move to report as
Is there a second? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1750 as amended. Clerk, open the roll. 1600, the bill is reported. Thank you, Senator
In the
Lucas.
words of the former or the late Senator Hunter Andrews, I thank you kindly.
Thank you kindly, all right. You're very gracious. All right, Senator Ruff, you still have a couple bills? Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's start with 1617.
1617.
This is the tech talent, one of the two Amazon bills. What the bill does is drive the awarding of at least 25,000 jobs by 2039. There is a substitute.
Okay, we have an amendment in the nature of a substitute. Is there a motion to adopt the substitute?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amendment is in front of it, Senator Ruff.
All right, the goal is to award at least 25,000 jobs by 2039 in computer science, computer engineering, and closely related fields. Any Virginia public institution can compete with the funds set aside for this purpose. This biennium, the governor has included $8 million in his budget. It would set up a fund for it. The designated reviewers who would evaluate those programs as they compete for these dollars were the Secretary of Finance, Secretary of Education, Director of SHEV, Director of Budget and Planning, the President of Economic Development Partnership, the Director of the Senate Finance Committee, and the House Appropriations Committee.
Okay. I'm sorry, did you finish?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone here in we were just, obviously, you've got a large number here, and I was trying to figure out whether we're going to be, we know for sure we're going to allocate some. I think I can say that at this moment. So I was just interested in whether or not we needed to put the clause on it. And
Well, I don't think we will exceed the governor's proposal, so.
Right, but we may not exceed it, but we might do something different. But the point is, I think we deem it a priority enough that we're going to put something there, so the clause would not do anything to the bill. So with that, was there anyone here to speak to this bill, either for or against?
You're welcome to if you feel compelled.
Okay. Excuse me.
Deputy Secretary.
You're for this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Fran Bradford, Deputy Secretary of Education. Thank the patron for his work on this bill. And we obviously support this initiative and are really grateful for the members, particularly those on MEI, to bring this to the table. And we will look forward to working with you all on the legislation. So thank you very much.
Okay. All right, Senator Norman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say I'm supportive of it, and even if we put the clause on it, we can have a discussion. I may want to talk with Senator Ruff about an amendment or two that would deal with the composition, but not the underlying premise or the funding issue on it. But I am supportive of it.
Okay. Do we have consensus? We're going to put something there that we really don't need to put the clause on it?
Yeah, we probably ought to put the clause on it.
Okay, all right. Senator Norman moves and Senator Newman second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we've added the financial contingency clause. Any further discussion? Motion and seconded. Clerk, open the roll.
John, you haven't switched. You got me Lucas up here.
All right, clerk, close the roll. Ayes 16, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next bill is Senate Bill 1093. This deals with the literary fund. It creates a new way of assisting localities with school construction. For the last 2 decades, there is a substitute, I'm sorry.
Okay. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, Senator Ruff.
For the last 2 decades, there's not been sufficient funds to make loans. Last year, the maximum locality could borrow was $7.5 million. That doesn't go very far when you start talking about $50 and $100 million schools. What I propose is a sub fund that is, instead of loaning money, let the localities borrow elsewhere and use any funds added to the sub fund to award grants to the more challenged, fiscally challenged localities based on their composite index. It would change it to at least in some portion, to a grant rather than a loan. But it would get us out of the business, move us away from the business of financing it through that literary fund.
Okay, this must be a shadow of itself. The original bill was talking about 127 million. What was that about?
When we first started talking about it, we talked about the money coming from the Wayfair.
Oh, that's great. That's right, Senator Ruff. I recall. Okay. And this just sets up a subsidization method for interest rates. Okay. Anyone here to speak for or against this?
Chairman Tom Smith, Superintendent's Association. The difficulties with construction across the Commonwealth have been a major issue for us. This is one tool, then we're very pleased and appreciate Senator Ruff bringing it forward.
Okay. You would appreciate it more if you'd got that 127 million from internet sales tax.
Exactly right.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the committee?
Move to report.
Move to report.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, open the roll. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Clerk, close the roll. The bill is reported, 16-0. Thank you, Senator Ruff. Senator Saslaw, or did I skip over you? Senator Newman, did you have a bill that we didn't take up? Okay. We got his? Okay, that was in black. I'm sorry. I just hadn't crossed it off. Senator Saslaw, we have 1496. Was that still out there?
There's 2 bills, actually.
One of them I think we rolled in.
Yeah, there's 2 in addition to that.
Okay, I've got one listed here. We'll see what you got.
Okay.
1496 is the one I had on my list.
Right, there's another one that came from courts and has been amended.
Who's got a second?
I'll go over that. It was heard by Senator.
All right, Senate Bill 1496.
That's the solar tax. It's a grant program is what it is now. This, Where'd he go?
Okay, we have a substitute? All right.
Yeah. Yeah, you do have
Is there a motion to adopt the
as of-
substitute?
Should say
Okay,
January
motion properly
29th.
supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Senator Saslaw?
Okay,
We got
this is a bill that got developed as a compromise by the Rubin Group, and the Solar Group and Dominion and all of them have all come to an agreement on this bill. And in fact, Bill Murray said had he been able to get here, he would have got up and supported the bill. So it's a bill that was a result of the Rubin Group and a compromise between the environmental groups, the solar people, and Dominion, and I assume Appalachian as well. It applies only to non-residential real property. Doesn't apply to homes. It defines on lines 23 what solar equipment means. It's the photovoltaic and all of the other things that go with it. The Department of Mines and Mineral Resources will administer the grant program. There's, I think, 10 million. Jason, is that correct? In the governor's budget, there was a $10 million grant. They can apply for a grant. It cannot exceed 35% of the installed cost of the solar equipment. And when they apply to the department, they've got to describe the solar equipment. They have to attach all the invoices and receipts for that, name and address, where they are, and the department, that's Mines and Mineral Resources, they have 60 days to approve it or disapprove it. It's pretty tightly controlled. If they can't approve it if it's going to exceed the amount that's been set aside, the $10 million. It's a tightly controlled program that, as a result of a lot of work with a lot of groups. And it's only non-residential, does not apply to residents, it's strictly commercial.
All right, you've heard the bill. It appears that the governor had money in the budget. We've got to address that as we prepare our budget for the weekend, so I guess it needs a clause. Motion properly supported. All those in favor of the financial contingency clause say aye. Aye. Any opposed? What's the pleasure on the bill? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1496 as amended. Clerk, open the roll. McDougal, you want to vote on that one? No. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is
Okay,
reported, Senator
that's
Southall.
that. The second one came out of courts and came up here, and let me tell you.
Senator Saslaw, I don't think it came here.
Well, it's here now.
But is it headed here?
Yeah, McDougal heard it. Remember that trigger accelerator bill?
Mr. Chairman, we took testimony about the financial side of everything, but we did not take any votes.
So it hasn't been reported out of...
Or neither side, hang on either way. We didn't have any votes, because we didn't have a lot of committee members that morning, and we were at some other.
So your bill is still in another committee then, apparently? No?
No, it's in finance.
Oh, in a subcommittee? Okay. Well, I guess, is this one, has it been sorted out? Are we going to have?
Let me tell you what I did, okay, what the bill is. The bill had, as introduced, according to the Citizens Defense League, was wider than the ATF ban that goes into effect near the end of March. They banned the trigger accelerator devices altogether. Possession, sale, the whole nine.
Oh, you're talking about bump stocks?
Bump stocks.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so what,
Yeah.
it was reported, they sent it up here to finance.
Okay. All right.
All right,
Is it
but-
Senator Saslaw?
Let me finish.
Go ahead, go
Okay,
ahead,
So
go
what
ahead.
happened was Reeves suggested to me, why don't you narrow it, do two things, narrow it to match the ATF
Right.
definition, which
Right.
I did in the
Uh-huh.
substitute. And what I also did, because it was a Class 6 felony for violation, I reduced that down to a Class 1 misdemeanor, which gets rid of the need for a budget amendment, which they estimated 50,000, the usual 50,000.
Right.
So it's now a Class 1 misdemeanor.
Okay. All right, it's not on our docket. We need, we bring everything to the full committee, I suppose, and somehow or another, it's still lingering out there. I suppose we're going to have one bill that may come to the desks tomorrow, and I suppose we could address it then. I don't believe we need any background information on this to vote on it when we have it in front of us. We don't have it in
Mr.
front of us
Chairman.
now. Yes, Senator Howe?
Usually, by this time, we know how much money we have in subcommittee to move forward bills with the Woodrum impact. At this point, we haven't known how much there is, so the subcommittee hasn't taken a position on any of the bills, and there are maybe 10, and we don't know how many we can do, so we haven't recommended any yet.
Okay.
All right, so what's the status?
You're in limbo.
Senator McDougal, what had you intended to do with those bills?
Mr. Chairman, I was waiting to hear from y'all how much money we had to spend before we can make a decision. And so typically, we get a number and then we decide. And so.
Well, then it's okay.
Okay.
No.
Mr. Chairman, there's a number of bills that are still within that subcommittee. It's not just Senator Saslaw's bill. Yes.
Okay.
And I think the subcommittee needs to look at all of the bills that are in there. And clearly, we are pressing down upon what's going to be available to spend and not spend.
Right. And Senator McDougal, I'm not sure the timing on this, but we obviously, are not accustomed to leaving bills in a subcommittee, so we'll have to figure out a way to advance them for some action, either tomorrow or the first of the week.
You're not on the docket.
Okay. With that, I think we will have to just hold up on that one, Senator Saslaw, for the time being. Senator Vogel? I believe, are Senator Vogel's bills the only ones remaining?
Bill, I'm ready.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I put my 6-year-old on speaker while I'm telling her to go to bed, will that help? That's what was going on over there in the corner, and it's not going so well at home apparently without me. I have Senate Bill 1669, and this was a recommendation of the Crime Commission. I bring that to you because sex trafficking is a serious issue in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and what the bill does is create a sex trafficking coordinator, and it does a whole lot of other things. It creates a statewide response plan, a mechanism to maintain a list of treatment programs, to oversee the development of a curriculum. It does a lot of that. It's got a physical impact of $115,000 and then $30,000.
Okay. And there's no amendment, substitute, or anything on this? Okay, all right.
Nope, it came unanimously out of the.
Does it have the financial contingency clause on it? Okay, I would entertain that motion.
Move the clause.
Motion properly supported, and there's second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion properly supported to report Senate Bill 1669 as amended. Clerk, open the roll.
I'm voting for Saslaw. It says right here in front of me.
Who's voting for you?
I don't know.
I got it.
George, that's your job. Thank you. If I vote for Saslaw, you can vote for me.
Okay. Clerk, close the roll. Ayes 16, no 0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
With that, I certainly want to thank everybody for enduring this long afternoon. Actually, our day isn't over. We still have work to do. and as our staff does. Senator Newman?
I just have a question is, what's your instruction or y'all's instruction as it relates to any subcommittee meetings tonight? Is it possible for us to meet if the group is willing to meet, for instance, like public education?
Yes,
maybe?
education, I think, needs to meet. And if you can pull that tonight, that would be good if that's your interest, Senator Newman.
That is, yes. And every member may not be able to come, but if we have a certain core group, I think that we could get us close and then socialize that tomorrow. Janet, that's you, so.
That would be good. That would be good. And with that, we'll have to clear up this issue with public safety, because I wasn't understanding that we had bills not being held in subcommittee. Okay, so we'll clear that up so that everybody's bills can be advanced one way or the other. So,
Once we have a number.
Thanks for voting for me.
Yes, I did a really good job for you. Yeah, thank you.
On your bill.
My own bill.